Chapter 849. Without his parents' support, Yang Heng wouldn't have been able to face the Yao family. Now that things had escalated to this point, if he didn't draw a clear line between himself and Yao Jing, he wouldn't be able to get rid of her in the future. Thus, he might as well tell them everything that was on his mind. The boy's voice was crisp and clear, indirectly slapping the Yao couple in the face. In your and Uncle Yao's eyes, your own children are treasures that you have to pamper. What about other people's children? They are born to be trampled on. Not only should you not be angry after being taught a lesson by Yao Jing, you should instead thank her for thinking so highly of you. You and Uncle Yao think that other people didn't jump into Yao Jing's trap because they didn't know what was good for them. They shouldn't have not jumped into Yao Jing's trap and made her unhappy. Sentence after sentence, Mother Yao, who was about to faint, couldn't stand steadily. Fortunately, Yao Jing, who was standing beside her, supported her and grabbed her daughter's arm. The corner of Mother Yao's mouth twitched, and she squeezed out a smile. Heng, isn't it because Jing Jing? Yang Heng gently interrupted Mother Yao's words and smiled politely. What you want to say is that it's because she likes me, right? Just because she likes me, she can ask Uncle, and Auntie to come forward and kick that girl out of junior high school? Just because she likes me, she can attack Yi Qian as she pleases? Just because she likes me, she can secretly warn all the girls who have come into contact with me? Just because she likes me, she wants to catch a poisonous snake to bite Yi Qian when she sees Yi Qian walking close to me. She also wants to get some hooligans to beat up Yi Qian. Auntie, don't let her like me. I can't bear her terrifying love. I don't have the right to scold your daughter, but I can tell you that if she continues to use the excuse of liking me to make enemies for me and hurt my friends, I won't care how close you are to my family, and I won't give Yao Jing any face. Although he was laughing, the mockery in his laughter made Deputy Director Yao and his wife's ears turn red. They wished they could disappear immediately. Mother Yao was a woman, and as the director, she had real power. Usually, she was treated with respect, and no one dared to say anything to her. Now that she was being mocked by a child that she had watched grow up, her face completely lost, and her face turned to the color of a pig's liver. His face was burning with pain, and his heart was twisting in pain. He had completely lost all his face. Heng, you really don't give Auntie any face. Yes, you're right. Auntie spoiled Jing Jing. It's Auntie's fault. It's Auntie's fault. To do. It's Auntie who taught her. She's a good child. She listens to whatever her parents say. It's Auntie's fault. I shouldn't have taught her that. You're right. This isn't for her own good. It's harming her. Harming her. In order to protect Yao Jing's reputation, Mother Yao took all the blame. She just didn't want her future son-in-law to hate her daughter. Chapter 850. Yao Jing, who had been crying, hid behind Mother Yao, not daring to come out. She was so flustered that she didn't even have the courage to speak. She glanced at Yi Jian from the corner of her eyes and saw her standing together with Mother Yang. Yi Jian was wearing a clean school uniform, and the smile on her face was also clean. It was the clearest contrast to her embarrassing appearance. Yao Jing felt as if her face had been slapped dozens of times in an instant, and she felt her face hurt. When everything was revealed, all of her secrets were exposed in front of the people she wanted to attack and take revenge on. It was so embarrassing that all of her pride was crushed into powder. Yao Jing, whose neck felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds, couldn't raise her head. Deputy Commissioner Yao and his wife also couldn't raise their heads. Those secret matters, they had solved them in private. They thought that the Yang family wouldn't know, but who knew that they actually knew? What a joke, what a joke! They thought that they had deceived everyone, but who knew that they were just pretending not to know? At this time, they were embarrassed by this joke. Yang Heng lowered his eyes slightly, pursed his lips and asked softly, "Could it be that Yao Jing called people over to beat up Yi Qian because of your orders?" Auntie, I'm not a 3-year-old child. I understand what you mean, but I can't accept it. Wrong is wrong. What she did to Yi Qian has nothing to do with you. It's her problem. Mother Yao was speechless. She was shocked. Yang Heng, this child, actually hated her daughter to this extent. She was so sorry, but he still didn't comfort Yao Jing. Anxious and angry, Mother Yao, who hated her daughter for not living up to expectations, suddenly turned around and raised her hand. Using all her strength, she gave Yao Jing a tight slap on the face. The slap was so loud that it made people's hearts jump. Yao Jing, you've disappointed us too much. You've done things wrong again and again. You've disappointed your mother. You've disappointed your mother too much. She was too disappointed. Everything she did let Yang Heng know. Not only did she not defeat others, but she also lost herself. Since she was young, she had been taught to do things steadily and surely. She absolutely couldn't be stupid enough to lose herself while doing things. Look at what she did today. As her parents, they had no way to salvage the situation for her. It was a good game of chess, but now it had become a dead move, a bad move. Yao Jing was stunned by the sudden slap. In all her memories, no matter what she did, she would always be praised by her parent. This time, she was actually slapped. Last time, Yi Qian had hit her. Even though she had apologized to Yi Qian, her parents still made it up to her when she got home so that she would feel better. This time, she actually hit her in front of Yi Qian. Chapter 851. Mother Yang, who was quite annoyed, didn't show it on her face. She just faintly looked at her old neighbor who had been with her for more than 10 years. Yao Jing isn't young anymore. Little Yi is right. You always say that Yao Jing is young and insensible. Then what about Yi Qian, who you scolded for being vicious? Is she an adult? Is she older than Yao Jing? Must she be sensible? Must she give in to Yao Jing? Must she let your Yao Jing ruin her? You don't need to say more or quibble. We've been neighbors for 10 years. I don't want our relationship to be like enemies. Little Jing isn't young anymore. I can't accept what she has done. Vicious, unsympathetic, and irresponsible. Such a child is insensible in your eyes, but in my eyes, I'm sorry. I will never accept such a daughter-in-law. Mother Yang's words were like a real double-edged sword, stabbing into Mother Yao's eyes. Huiying, people aren't saints. How can you, from 4 years ago until now? Shuhe, if you continue to speak, the relationship between our two families will really be broken. Mother Yang shielded Yi Qian by her side, blocking Mother Yao's sharp line of sight. Little Yi, I will protect this child in the future. It just so happens that I have always regretted that I don't have a daughter. She is 1 year younger than Yang Heng, and we hit it off very well. I like her in my heart. As for little Jing, it's better if she doesn't interact with Yang Heng in the future to avoid misunderstandings. Mother Yao, who was feeling suffocated, breathed rapidly and made a puff 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 sound. What did Huiying mean? What did she want to tell her? Hit it off with Yi Qian? They just met tonight and she said they hit it off? She even said that she regretted not having a daughter? What did she mean? Without a daughter, she recognized Yi Qian as her daughter-in-law? How could she be so careless? They only knew each other for a few hours and they already knew each other? Didn't she say that she wasn't in a hurry? Why was she in a hurry now? No. Li Shuhe was optimistic about the Yang family. She knew them well. They were all good-tempered. With Jing's ability, she could completely control them. They must not fall into Yi Qian's hands. Absolutely not. Mother Yang's words completely stepped on Mother Yao's taut nerve. She winked at her husband, wiped her tears, and whispered, Huiying, I made you so angry that you became muddle-headed. You even said such hasty words. Okay. It's my fault. I'll apologize to you. You. Deputy Director Yao, who was afraid that Yang Heng would expose what Yao Jing had done, signaled him to quickly think of a way to stabilize the Yang family. Deputy Bureau Chief Yao didn't speak again because he was a dignified deputy bureau chief. How could he go against the children of his old friend? If his wife and daughter came forward, at least he could preserve some dignity in front of Bureau Chief Yang. Chapter 852. Director Yang acted as the peacemaker. It was not wise for him to cut off all ties with the Yao family for the sake of his daughter's affairs. As an official, he could be at odds with his colleagues because of work, but he would be too narrow-minded if he drifted apart because of his family's affairs. Okay, let's talk somewhere else. I'm worried about you now. This matter is obviously easy to solve. Look at you. He walked towards the sofa in the lobby, and his voice gradually disappeared from Yi Qian's ears. Yang Heng, who had been standing to Yi Qian's right, saw this and said softly, "My dad has stepped in. This matter might have to be put to rest tonight. Yao Jing can't drop out of school like Ying. I'm afraid my dad will ruin it." "How do you know that I want Yao Jing to leave school?" Yi Qian pursed his lips and smiled. His eyes were as clear as water, without a trace of gloominess. Yang Heng did not understand what he meant. Yi Qian glanced at Yao Jing, who was pretending to be a quail and trying to calm herself down. He smiled coldly and said, "Yao Jing is not Ying. We can't use the same method on her. Yao Jing can endure and will not jump out at the slightest provocation. Ying likes to jump out, so I need to get her out of school as soon as possible." "You mean to say that Yao Jing is safer in school?" "That's right. School is an invisible restraint for her. With her pride, she will be afraid if things get out of hand. She is afraid that people will look down on her and say that she is two-faced. After this incident, she will at least be more honest in school." After she finished speaking, Yang Heng secretly gave her a thumbs up. "Good, good. I've known Yao Jing for so many years, and I've always had a headache dealing with her. You've only known her for a month, and you've already found her weakness. Yi Qian, you're amazing." The boy's smile was clean, like the sunlight reflected on the surface of the water in summer. It was so refreshing that people couldn't help but smile along with him. Yang Heng was capable, clean, and resourceful. He was also disdainful of using underhanded means. It was indeed a good choice to be friends with such a man. Yao Jing, who was hiding behind Mother Yao, looked at the two of them whispering to each other. Her eyes were filled with layers of darkness, and there was no light in them at all. It was a darkness that seemed to have broken her core. This kind of person was terrifying. He had a certain level of strength and a flexible brain. He liked to scheme against them in the dark. He was like a poisonous snake hiding in the dark. Just thinking about it made people tremble in fear. Mother Yao and Mother Yang kept apologizing to each other. Deputy Bureau Chief Yao, who was sitting on the sofa, sat down and sighed with a frown. "Old Yang, I've made a fool of myself. I'm ashamed." Deputy Bureau Chief Yao raised his hand and lightly thumped his forehead, complaining about his difficulties. "Jing Jing is my only daughter. How could I bear to let her be wronged? Today, Heng Heng's words reminded me that if my own child is a treasure, other people's child is also a treasure." Director Yang had never interfered with these family matters and left it all to his wife to deal with. When he heard this, he only smiled and said, "That's a separate matter. You know that I don't care about the children's matters and don't interfere. It's even more impossible for me to show up for the matters between my children. Old Yao, you and your wife both came out of the education system. I still remember how righteous you were when you criticized a child for stealing. But when it comes to your own daughter, sigh, let's not talk about it." Chapter 853. If he didn't want to talk about it, it meant that he didn't want to talk about it. If he didn't even want to talk about it, then there wasn't much to talk about the relationship between the two families. Deputy Bureau Chief Yao's expression changed again and again. He didn't want to give up and said, "Let the two children handle it. As adults, we don't care anymore. We don't care anymore. Yes, we don't care anymore. Heng Heng is already 18 years old, and has his own judgment. I didn't care about his matters in the past, and I won't care about it in the future. Let him handle it himself. This old Yao was a wily old fox. He was trying to see if there was any possibility of them becoming in-laws in front of him. Anxious, too anxious. Bureau Chief Yang sighed deeply. He glanced at Mother Yao, who was unable to maintain her composure because of her son's words and still wanted to explain a little more. This matter had come to an end. As for calling the police, he looked at Xiao Yi, who had a calm and indifferent expression from the beginning to the end, and did not take it seriously. An interesting little girl who could control the situation. She had the air of a general. Sigh, it's our fault. We can't raise the children like this. Deputy Bureau Chief Yao sighed. He sighed because his family had made a wrong move. Now, it was difficult to make the two children happy. Old Yang, you have to help me. Little Jing made a mistake. I will definitely teach her a lesson when we get home. But Yi Qian said to call the police. You saw it too. This child is also a person of her words. I'm really worried that she will call the police. I hope you can persuade her to be magnanimous and forgive little Jing this time. She couldn't call the police. If she really did, the whole family would be affected. It would be even harder for Jing to survive in school. Mother Yao waited anxiously and dragged Mother Yang away. Huiying, I know you are very disappointed. Believe me, I will definitely criticize her and make sure she doesn't make any mistakes again. Also, she had to make Jing apologize to the Yang family. She couldn't let the Yang family think that Jing didn't even know the most basic manners. Yes, she also had to apologize to Yi Qian. She had to ask him to forgive Jing and not pursue the matter. Just now, he had also made a mistake. He was anxious that his daughter had been wronged, so he had recklessly stood up for her. Not only did he not protect his daughter, but he had also made things more complicated. He had even made Yang Heng say such hurtful words like Jing was despicable. Mother Yang didn't open her mouth and let Mother Yao continue to speak good words. No matter how good her flowery words were, a girl like Yao Jing must be kept away from. Soon, Director Yang walked over. Deputy Director Yao, who was one step behind, nodded slightly to his wife, indicating that the matter was settled. After receiving her husband's signal, Mother Yao, whose back was drenched in sweat, relaxed. That's good. As long as old Yang stepped in, everything would be fine. My dad is here. He's here to be the peacemaker. Yang Heng's teasing made Yi Qian tilt his head and smile. It was late, so it was time to leave. Director Yang walked directly to Yi Jian's side and did not beat around the bush. He sighed and went straight to the point. Xiao Yi, can you let this matter go today for the sake of your uncle? Uncle knows that you have been wronged, but who in this world can have a smooth sailing life? Sometimes being wronged is also part of your growth experience. Calling the police was just Yi Qian's plan to trick Yao Jing. He wanted her to know if she had leaked information to Luo Ran. Now that the truth was out, how could she go to the police? He had injured 7 hoodlums and scared Luo Ran until he fainted. Thus, he slightly curved his lips and smiled. I will listen to your arrangements. Whatever you say, I will listen. Chapter 854. All right. Then I'll make the decision. Director Yang nodded approvingly at Yi Qian. This child was like a deep pool of water. Deep water was good. Deep water was the best. Deep water was the best. Deep water was quiet, but shallow water was noisy. To achieve great things, one had to be able to pick up and let go. With him stepping in today, no matter how upset Yao Jing was, she had to suppress it. And the Yao family couldn't do anything to Yi Qian. For the sake of the Yang family, they wouldn't dare. Yi Qian also thought of this point. It was inappropriate for the army to step in and suppress the Yao family. It would only make the Yao family more cautious and restrain themselves. Now that Director Yang stepped in, it wasn't just a matter of restrain. They had to restrain themselves. Yao Jing was upset. She had to be. He didn't have to step in to make her accept. It was the Yao family who had to make her accept. Yao Jing, Dad will settle this for you. Mom's slap will calm your Auntie Song's anger, and let Yi Qian know our attitude as adult. Now, apologize to Yi Qian. Remember, you have to apologize. Otherwise, she will tell the school what you did. You're finished. Your reputation will be ruined. Mother Yao warned and lectured in secret. Yao Jing, who was stunned by the slap, had no choice but to accept the fact that she had to apologize to Yi Qian again. Remember, what we're doing now is for your own good. Yao Jing, whose tears had almost dried up, lowered her head and listened obediently. However, the viciousness in her eyes was even more obvious. She calmed down a little and nodded. I know, Mom. That's good. That's good. I know that my Jing Jing is a good girl. She won't disappoint us. Mother Yao stroked her daughter's hair. Seeing the handprint she left on her daughter's delicate face, she regretted that she had slapped her too hard in a fit of anger. She should have just put on an act. Why did she really hit her? Yao Jing was furious, and so was Deputy Director Yao. But so what? He still had to apologize to Yi Jian again and again. I didn't expect my insensible daughter to get into trouble again. I still don't know what kind of trouble she got into. What kind of trouble did I get into that you, a student with a heart smaller than a needle, would not let go? It's not a big deal. Your daughter said it very clearly just now, and I also explained it very clearly. If Deputy Director Yao still doesn't know, you can simply understand it like this. Your daughter is in contact with the gangsters in the society, and they want to teach me a lesson. Yi Qian understood what he was implying. His calm eyes even had a hint of a smile. Deputy Director Yao, you should understand what I'm saying. If you still don't understand, why don't you ask your daughter why she knows those gangsters? Deputy Director Yao, who was still able to maintain his composure, sighed. When I get back, I'll definitely ask her properly. I thought she was young and insensible, but now it seems that I neglected to discipline her. Xiao Yi, I'm really sorry. I clearly said that I wouldn't cause you any more trouble. Who knew that she would come again? He spoke bitterly and with deep helplessness. When he saw that his daughter didn't even have the courage to raise her head after hearing Yang Heng's words, he didn't feel any better. All right, we've let Yang Heng down tonight. We made his birthday unhappy. How about this, old Yang? When you're free, our family will come and apologize again. Tonight, we'll go back first. Sigh, I'm worried now. Children are their parents' debts. Sigh. Chapter 855. He was indeed worried about his daughter, but he didn't think that his daughter had made a grave mistake. There was definitely a mistake, but it wasn't entirely his daughter's fault. His daughter had made a grave mistake by going up against Yi Qian. How could Bureau Chief Yang allow the Yao family to visit him? He patted his old neighbor's shoulder and said with a smile, My family's matter is a small matter. We're old neighbors. Our children can't play together, but we adults can't have a knot in our hearts. However, I want to remind you that little Jing has to apologize to classmate little Yi. I'll make the decision to let bygones be bygones. Don't take it to heart. After all, you're classmates from the same school. Apologizing to Yi Qian was a small matter. Even if it was embarrassing, she still had to apologize to him under such circumstances. She gritted her teeth and walked out with a few red finger marks on her face. Standing in front of Yi Qian, she lowered her head and said word by word, I'm sorry, Yi Qian. I shouldn't have informed Luo Ran and the others to come over. I shouldn't have chosen to stand by and watch. If I see this again, I'll definitely tell the teacher first and let him handle it. That's right, that's right. If you had thought of this earlier, there wouldn't have been any of this. His wife was so embarrassed that she didn't want to speak. Only Deputy Bureau Chief Yao could clean up the mess. Seeing his daughter's voice trembling, Deputy Bureau Chief Yao's heart ached for her, and he took the initiative to criticize her again. He said to Yi Qian, she can't be forgiven so easily. I'll definitely give her a good lecture when we get home. Yi Qian sneered. Saying, "I'm sorry," immediately after making a mistake might seem polite, but if she only apologized and didn't improve, her "I'm sorry" was really cheap. It's okay. I have to get used to your daughter making mistakes from time to time. Once I get used to it, I don't think I'll need your daughter to apologize to me the next time. Her reply made Deputy Bureau Chief Yao's smile stiffen. Yao Jing, who had finally lowered her head and bowed, glanced fiercely at Yi Qian. He was so aggressive that he didn't leave her any face. "Yi Qian, you're the real vicious one. Endure." She had to endure. Auntie Yang already had a problem with her. If she couldn't tolerate it anymore and went along with it, it would be difficult for her to get close to Yang Heng. She secretly took a deep breath and walked in front of Mother Yang. Even if she secretly mocked herself for only knowing how to apologize and not being able to correct her mistakes, she still had to apologize to Auntie Song. "Auntie, I'm sorry. I just. She sniffled before she could finish her sentence. She sobbed and said intermittently, "I was jealous of Yi Jian. That's why I didn't inform the Lord immediately. Please don't hate me. I was just being impulsive. Auntie, please forgive me." "Auntie, can you forgive me?" "Jing, it's not enough for others to forgive you. I'm not used to your apology, so I can't accept it now." Mother Yang sighed and removed Yao Jing's hand from her arm. She said earnestly, "You need to learn how to be a good person. Even if you have nothing, at least your nature isn't bad." If her nature was bad, would she continue to forgive her in the future even if she forgave her today? After Mother Yang finished speaking, she said to Yi Jian, "Xiao Yi, accompany me back to my room. Your Uncle Yang will make the decision to let bygones be bygones. Nothing will happen in the future, and the things that happened to Yang Heng in junior high will not happen again. Auntie can promise you that you will finish high school smoothly." Chapter 856. Although this child was aggressive just now, she knew when to stop. She said one thing and two things. Her words were sharp, but she had evidence. Even if such a child came from a poor family, she had learned how to be a person. This was a lifetime of wealth, and Yao Jing would never be able to compare to her. The current situation was actually an unexpected gain for Yi Qian. He didn't expect that even Yang Heng's parents would come forward to protect her, which made the Yao family afraid. Hearing this, the smile on his face was brighter than the morning breeze. "I also didn't think of mentioning these things in the future. It's not a good thing. Let bygones be bygones." Yang Heng's mother took her hand and turned to walk into the hotel. Seeing this, Yao Jing was so anxious that she wanted to rush over and pull on Yang Heng's mother's sleeve. "Auntie, I was wrong. I was wrong. Please don't. Yao Jing, my mother's health is not good. I don't want you to make a fuss in front of her." Yang Heng stood up and directly blocked Yao Jing's path. Facing Yao Jing, who had cried until her makeup was ruined, he said lightly, "It's too late. You can go home and rest." Yang Heng bowed slightly to Deputy Bureau Chief Yao and his wife and politely said, "Uncle, Auntie, I won't send you off. Goodbye." "Heng Heng, come here." Yang Heng's mother shouted. She didn't want to see her son have any contact with Yao Jing. The older he was, the more he didn't know how to improve. She was also very disappointed with the Yao family. Bureau Chief Yang raised his hand to look at the time and said to Deputy Bureau Chief Yao, "Okay, old Yao, go home. This matter is over." Yang Heng didn't fight, and his classmates didn't fight either. As for what Yi Qian encountered outside, I don't think it's a big deal. Since everyone is safe, don't think too much. Go back and rest. Let's go, I'll send you off. After that, he made a please gesture. The two fathers bowed their heads and walked out of the hotel. Yao Jing stood still and watched Yang Heng walk step by step away from her sight. He walked towards Yi Qian without looking back once. Looking at his thin back getting farther and farther away from her, she felt like her heart was being stabbed by a knife. She lost her voice and shouted, "Yang Heng, I hate you! I hate you!" Yang Heng smiled. No matter how much she hated him, it had nothing to do with him. From junior high to senior high, ever since he saw her make a mistake, he had advised her countless times and said many good words. A few years had passed, but in exchange, she had become worse. After so long, she had not changed, so be it. He would let her parents worry about it. Mother Yao covered her daughter's mouth. Her heart ached as she whispered, "All right, Jing Jing, go back with Mom. Wasn't it just Yang Heng? What's the big deal? Our Jing Jing is so beautiful and smart. Is she afraid that she can't find a better boyfriend?" Although she said that, Mother Yao didn't have any confidence at all. Her daughter was smart and beautiful, but her temper was too big. If she didn't find a broad-minded husband who knew her well, how could she be at ease? Agitated, Yao Jing struggled and screamed, "Mom, I only want Yang Heng. He belongs to me alone. I like him, so he can only be mine. Mom, I don't want anyone. I don't want anyone." There weren't many people in the hotel, so her screams attracted a lot of attention. The group of people had been talking in the hotel lobby and didn't go to the side rooms. Mother Yang, who was waiting for the elevator, heard Yao Jing's screams clearly. Chapter 857. When Mother Yang heard these words, the mild-tempered wife of the director was so angry that her face changed. She suppressed the anger in her heart and smiled at Yi Jian. "They are all singing in the private room on the 3rd floor. Go and relax with them. Don't be shy. Yang Heng will come down to play with you later." She had something to say to Yang Heng. Yi Qian understood and smiled. "Auntie, you are too polite." If Yi Qian was really with Mother Yang, she would feel very uncomfortable. It was better to go and play with her senior brothers and sisters. When the elevator reached the 3rd floor, Yi Qian walked out and waited for the elevator door to close before leaving. Although it was called a private room, it was actually a bar in the hotel. It could accommodate more than 100 people. The flashing lights were colorful and the songs were all Hong Kong and Taiwan songs. Even the senior brothers who were singing now had a different tune, making the students below the stage laugh. Here, there was nothing to be unhappy about. Sitting here, Yi Qian did not think about what happened just now. Yi Qian, who had beaten up the 7 delinquents, returned to the group of students. She was once again an excellent student in the eyes of the students. She was easy to get along with, had a good temper, and was a strong and beautiful girl. "Come, come, come. Drink juice. Other than juice, there is also mineral water. If you want to drink, there is nothing." Yi Qian sat down. The senior class students sitting with her immediately poured her a glass of juice. They were much more familiar with each other, and there was less of a sense of distance between them. After a night of fun, Yi Jian's polite attitude won their favor. Compared to Yao Jing, who made her own decisions, Yi Jian's peaceful and polite attitude won them over. Yi Qian smiled and clinked glasses with them. They sat together on the high bar and felt the atmosphere of the student. She had not experienced it in her previous life, but in this life she felt a sense of novelty everywhere. The senior class was a very tense semester. It was rare to come out and relax. Even the relatively quiet girls in the class were sitting in the bar. They did not have to worry about the class teacher being angry. Before coming, Director Yang had informed the class teacher and promised that he would take care of every student. This could be seen from the dozen or so hotel staff standing around the bar. Some boys and girls were playing a game of finger-guessing, each louder than the other. It could be seen that everyone was playing happily. When she saw Wang Jin sitting in the corner and arm wrestling with a few boys, Yi Jian, who felt sorry for him, walked over with a glass of juice. She didn't know if his arm hurt. She had to be more careful with her classmates next time so that she wouldn't accidentally hurt them again. "My arm is fine. Why are you still thinking about it?" "Ha ha ha, it's fine, it's fine. It's fine." Seeing that she was still feeling guilty, Wang Jin swung his right arm high and laughed out loud. "I won the arm wrestle just now. It's okay now. Where is Yang Heng? Why didn't he come with you? Did he go look for Yao Jing? Wang Jin had long forgotten about the pain in his arm. Seeing that Yang Heng was not accompanying Yi Jian, he immediately changed the topic. He blinked ambiguously and said with a smile, "Junior sister Yi Jian, you have to work hard. Yao Jing is a formidable opponent." Yi Qian smiled. If it was because of Yang Heng, he wouldn't be a strong opponent. If it wasn't because of Yang Heng, she could be a strong opponent. Wang Jin was confused. After a moment of silence he sighed, a future junior from a top university. Although there is only a one-word difference between a genius and a fool, there is a gap between the two. I don't understand what you are saying. I don't understand at all. Chapter 858. You can ask Yang Heng. He knows. Yi Qian yawned and tears welled up in his eyes. I'm sleepy. I have to go back to my room and sleep. I have to wake up early tomorrow. His meaning was simple. If Yi Qian really wanted to snatch Yang Heng from Yao Jing would have no chance of winning with such a strong opponent. If it weren't for Yang Heng, Yao Jing would be a strong opponent in Yi Qian's life. A strong opponent that could not be defeated so easily. Wang Jin pointed at the clock hanging on the bar counter and joked, "One look and I can tell that you are a good student. You never stay up late. It's not even midnight yet." "I'm also staying up late, but I have something to do tomorrow. Have fun. Goodbye. I'll go find Captain Xia early tomorrow. Since I didn't reject his love letter, I should take the initiative occasionally. I don't know how long he can stay in Nan Province. I feel bad making him run around all the time. If Commander-in-Chief Xia finds out, fine." She was not afraid of Xia Jinyuan saying that she was heartless. She was afraid that Commander-in-Chief Xia would say that she tormented his son. Behind him, a boy put his arm around Wang Jin's shoulder and laughed. "If you are not a good student, how can you get such good grades? Why did Yi Qian ask if your arm is okay? What's wrong? Did something happen?" Wang Jin shook his right arm and laughed. "I sprained it. It's fine. It's fine. Let's go and sing a song." There was a lot of noise and laughter behind her. Yi Jian, who was smiling slightly, closed the door of the private room that had a good soundproof effect and left with light footstep. It was already late into the night, and there were fewer cars outside the hotel at 11 o'clock. Yao Jing was screaming like a madwoman in the car, kicking and punching. The little princess crown on her head had already fallen somewhere. Her hair was disheveled, and she was venting her grievances and anger like a madwoman. Let her cry for a while. Don't disturb her. Deputy Director Yao, who was driving, drove steadily and motioned for his wife to sit still and not disturb his daughter's venting. A black car sped past on the opposite side of the road. The middle-aged man sitting in the car kept urging the driver, "Damn it, hurry up, run the red light, charge through. Old Luo, if anything happens to our son, I'm not done with you. I'm not done with you." There was also a plump middle-aged woman with tears and snot running down her face. There was even a pile of tissues scattered in the car. Boss Luo, whose face was full of fat, glared fiercely at his wife and said angrily, "Spoiled, you only know how to spoil. Look at you now." He had spoiled a person who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. Who is Master Hosan? If your brother is afraid of him, then I'm even more afraid of him. After provoking Master Hosan, not only do you have to hope that nothing will happen to your son, you also have to King hope that nothing will happen to me. Boss Luo's wife choked. She collapsed in the car and wiped her tears. She didn't even dare to cry too loudly. Who didn't know Master Hosan? His eldest brother used to work with Master Hosan. Later, he made a mistake and was kicked out. Until now, he had been hiding in his hometown and didn't dare to come out. Master Hosan had warned him to stay in his hometown so that he could live. What should we do? What should we do? Hubby, my brother said that if it's third Master Ho, our son will most likely die. What should we do? How can Grandma accept this? Cry, 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 cry my ass. Boss Luo, who was cursing, took out a big cigar. He wore a square ruby gold ring and lit the cigar. He took a deep puff and said in a muffled voice, "If there's no way out, you have to admit it. You have to King admit it." As long as they didn't fight in school, the teachers wouldn't care so much. At worst, he would pay more money to the school to keep his son's school status. Chapter 859. Even if he got into a fight or got into trouble, as long as no one was killed and he could settle it with money, it was not a big deal. But this good-for-nothing bastard dared to mess with Master Hosan. No matter how rich he was not as rich as Master Hosan. No matter how powerful he was not as powerful as Master Hausen's background in the underworld. When something happened, there was only one word for it: admit it. One car was heading home, while the other was heading towards the Caesar Hotel. Yao Jing was screaming crazily in the car, while the other car had already stopped. Boss Luo and his wife, together with the driver, used a flashlight to find Luo Ran, who had fainted in the withered grass. "Son, wake up, don't scare your mother. Son, wake up, don't scare your mother, don't scare your mother." Holding Luo Ran, whose face and lips were pale, Luo Ran's mother cried until she almost fainted. The driver carefully touched Luo Ran's nose and whispered to his boss, whose fat was trembling, "Boss, he's still breathing. I think he just fainted. Let's put him in the car first." "He's still breathing?" Boss Luo was from Guangdong province. He had lost his fertility after a car accident in his early years. Otherwise, his family would not have raised Luo Ran as their ancestor. He was the only child in the family, and there was no way for him to grow a second one. How could he not be a treasure? The driver nodded repeatedly. "He's still breathing, he's still breathing. I checked, and there's no blood except here." The driver, who was in his early 40s, pointed at Luo Ran's neck. "Someone strangled him here, but there's no other injury." The driver's surname was also Luo, and he was from the same village as Boss Luo. With his reminder, Boss Luo also gently stretched out 2 fingers in front of his son's nose. "He's really breathing. It's all right. Master Hosan was merciful." "Stop crying, what are you crying for? Take him to the car. Call your cousin, who's a medical student, over for a checkup." His son was still breathing, and the Luo family was still alive. Boss Luo was so happy that he pushed his wife away and bent down to pick Luo Ran up. He tried twice but was blocked by his beer belly, so he had to tell his driver, "Hurry up, take my son to the car, get in the car first." As long as his son was still breathing, it was fine. If he really ran out of chi, he could only accept it. At this moment, Boss Luo didn't want to stay here for even a minute. He just wanted to leave as soon as possible. The black BMW with a local license plate sped away. In less than 2 minutes, Ho Zi, who was wearing a loose bathrobe that revealed a large portion of his strong and muscular chest, received a call from his subordinate. He didn't have much interest in it, so he replied with a soft and hung up the phone. He turned around and poured the red wine into a large crystal wine set. While shaking it gently, he walked to the sofa and sat down. "It's settled. I've just brought him home. Tell your little girlfriend not to worry." The red wine in the wine set was slowly poured into a tall crystal glass. Xia Jinyuan, who was also wearing a loose white hotel robe, picked up the crystal glass filled with red wine and gave a slight toast to Ho Zi. "Thank you, Brother Zi. Don't mention it. Even if I didn't show up today, your little girlfriend would have taken care of it." Ho Zi was no longer drunk. He sat on the dark-colored sofa with his slender legs crossed and sighed with a smile. "My men said that those little hooligans were beaten up badly. There were 7 of them in total. 4 of them had brass darts pierced into their left hands and knives pierced into their right hands. Their left and right hands were dislocated and twisted like noodles." Chapter 860. From the moment I saw her to the moment I brought my men over, She managed to get rid of 7 men in less than 15 minutes. She is indeed capable. With such a girlfriend, no matter where he was, he could rest assured. Xia Jinyuan's eyes were sharp. Xia Jinyuan, who had been gently swirling the wine glass in his hand, enjoyed the night view. His thin lips curved into an unusually soft smile. She's not my girlfriend. She's a high school student. She needs to wait. She is quite capable. Her goal is the same as mine. In fact, I'm her target. Hosey could hear a hint of bragging in his calm tone. She had to admit that this was something that could be bragged about. Any man would be jealous. The girl he liked had set him as her target. How could he not be envious? Hosey, who had just been broken up with, suddenly lost interest in talking to Xia Jinyuan about Yi Qian. She didn't want to hear a man who was so proud of his success to show off in front of her, who was about to fall out of love. She calmly changed the topic. The scenery is good, right? Do you feel like the mountains are small? The Caesar Hotel had 23 floors. Naturally, it was impossible for every floor to be a hotel. The hotel was divided into 2 main entrances. From the 1st floor to the 14th floor, there were hotels. From the 14th to the 20th floor, there were offices. On the 23rd floor, there were 2 bedrooms and 1 living room. For example, Xia Yiwei and Xia Jinyuan. The sofa faced the large floor-to-ceiling windows. Even if one were to sit on the sofa, they could have a bird's-eye view of the southern province. Xia Jinyuan clinked glasses with Hosey. After taking a sip, he slowly said, "It's lonely at the top." He wanted to sleep, so he forced himself to wake up. Do you want to hear nice words? Not at all. I asked you to accompany me to relax, not to make things difficult for me. Hosey finished the red wine in her glass in a few mouthfuls and immediately poured herself another glass. I've already treated you to such a good French red wine. Can't you give me some face? Xia Jinyuan stretched his long legs and lazily replied, "No, an old man like you doesn't need a young person like me to give you face. Face is given to oneself, not by others." 37 years old. Am I old? You're 37 years old, not old. My sister is 34 years old, don't you think she's old? Xia Jinyuan's voice was a little cold. Brother Z, don't expect me to say something nice to you. My sister wants to marry you, but you don't want to marry her. There's only one result, an amicable parting. It's a relief for her and a relief for you. Hosey clenched her teeth so hard that her cheeks tightened. Her red phoenix eyes were filled with murderous intent. She said in a low voice, "Tell me, do you think we can get married? Who am I? Who was she? Who is your family, Xia? Could it be done? Can this marriage go through? She said she wants to get married. Do I dare to agree? Does your family Xia dare to marry her to me?" One was the boss of the underworld. His hands were stained with blood and he had countless enemies. He didn't dare to marry her because he didn't dare to take the risk. His phoenix eyes were bloodshot as he stared at Xia Jinyuan. He was like a proud phoenix with bloodshot eyes. His wings were gorgeous, but no one could get close to him. Sixth brother, you're a man. Think about it if you were in my position. Would you dare? Dare? Why wouldn't I dare? The person I love and the person who loves me is by my side. Why wouldn't I dare? I would even dare to die. Not to mention enemies and enemies. Chapter 861. The scenery on the 23rd floor is indeed not bad. I should be able to watch the sunrise. But it's not good to be lonely at such a high place. I need someone to accompany me. Xia Jinyuan, who was thinking in his heart, raised his eyebrows slightly. He smiled confidently and said, I dare, Brother Z. I won't let the person I love live without anyone to depend on. I will try my best to keep her safe and let her feel at ease when she is in a relationship. The world is big and there are many places with beautiful scenery. It's far away from the hustle and bustle of the world. Brother Z, it's actually not difficult to hold the hand of the person you love and take a stroll on a sparsely populated rural road. What's difficult is that you can't give up the status, power, and wealth you have today. So, you don't dare to give it up for Xiaoiwei. Ho Zi fell silent. Xia Jinyuan may be young, but his words were sharp and experienced. It was as if he had dug out Ho Zi's heart and revealed all his misgivings. That's right. It was indeed difficult for him to give up the status, wealth, and power he had today. He started as a poor boy and spent a total of 20 years building this beautiful country with his bare hands. How could he give up 20 years of hard work? If he left, what would happen to his brothers? How could they continue to play this game of chess? Once he left, what would he use to protect himself and his woman if his enemies came looking for him? He had been gambling for the past 20 years. Now that he had settled down, he didn't dare to gamble anymore. He was afraid that he would lose, so he didn't dare to gamble. Brother Z, you have too many misgivings in your heart. They far exceed your expectations of giving Xia Yiwei happiness. I admit that you love my sister, Xia Yiwei, but I want to tell you that there are not so many misgivings in love. Love is a promise. If you can't give her that promise, you can only choose to let go. After so many years, after 17 years of ups and downs, in the end, because of different identities, different statuses, and different misgivings, the people he once trusted became strangers. In the end, they no longer traveled together and their lives no longer intersected. This was a pity, but it also reminded him that he must not let the little fox drift further and further away from him. They must hold each other's hands tightly and walk side by side on the road of the military. They had the same goal, the same duty, the same military uniform, the same military cap, the same steel gun for the country. They would never leave each other in the flames of war. Only then could they continue to walk together and love each other. Ho Zi's red eyes seemed to sparkle with tears, but they quickly disappeared. He asked Xia Jinyuan, "Do you mean that my breakup with your sister is inevitable and there's no turning back? I'm not a part of your relationship. I have no way of knowing what's going on in your hearts, nor do I know how important this relationship is to you. Therefore, I can't give you an answer. I have no way of knowing what the outcome of your relationship is." Xia Jinyuan had finished the red wine in his glass. He gently placed the glass on the coffee table and rubbed his tired eyes. He stood up and said, "I still have to chase after my future girlfriend tomorrow. Good night, Brother Z." Only the two of them understood their relationship. No matter how clear others saw it, they could not tell what the outcome of their relationship would be. There were only two outcomes: break up or stay together. There were also only two choices: break up or stay together. It all depended on which outcome they chose. Ho Zi did not ask him to stay any longer. With a thoughtful expression, he softly said, "Goodbye." Then he sipped his red wine and quietly thought about it. He needed to think about it carefully. Chapter 862. His lover of 17 years, the only woman he loved in his life, was it possible for him to watch her marry another man? Xia Jinyuan walked to the door and unlocked it. He turned around and saw a lonely figure sitting on the sofa. His elegant and handsome face was solemn, and there was a dark look in his eyes. This was all he could do to help. If Ho Zi couldn't bear to give up his current position, Xia Yiwei wouldn't have a problem marrying his first love. After all, the two of them broke up because of a misunderstanding. One of them was still single, waiting for Iran, while the other was at an age where she had to get married because her relationship wasn't going well. If you fell in love, you shouldn't worry too much. If you really had so many worries, why did you get together in the first place? If you hesitated, you would end up as a loser. If you kept thinking about waiting until Little Fox went to college, you'd end up letting those little boys make the first move. The biggest mistake you can't make for someone you love is to be self-righteous. If you don't regret making a move, and if you fall in love, you don't regret it. What's so difficult about dealing with the things around you that might interfere with your relationship? What's really difficult is your own heart. You can't make up your mind, you can't decide what to do, and you have too many worries. He wouldn't have so many worries about his own feelings. No matter how difficult the situation was, it wouldn't stop him from making a move. After pausing at the door for a while, Xia Jinyuan suddenly said, "Brother Z, my return this time might bring you a certain amount of danger. But the only person I can think of is you. I, Ho Z, have been walking on the edge of a knife for so many years. You came to me because you think highly of me and you trust me. If there's any danger, as long as I can handle it, it won't be a problem." Ho Z, who was still living a life of turbulence, seemed to have known all along. He said calmly with a hint of arrogance, "Your identity can bring me danger, and it's indeed dangerous enough. I've done so many things, but I've never done anything bad to protect a soldier. There's no harm in giving it a try." In the face of danger, only Ho Z, who was in the underworld, would dare to say that there was no need to guard against it. Xia Jinyuan smirked and said, "Brother Z, if you have the chance to make a serious choice, how do you plan to live with Xia Yiwei? Continue to live your own life and let Xia Yiwei get married? Make a serious choice? Single choice?" Ho Zi's gaze froze. She turned her head from the sofa and looked at the young man standing at the door like a pine tree. "Are you willing to see your little girlfriend marry someone else?" It seemed that the matter between him and Xia Yiwei had not reached a dead end yet. Xia Jinyuan nodded and smiled faintly. "I understand. Rest early." If Ho Zi could seize the opportunity, he and Xia Yiwei would have a bright future. If he missed it, Ho Zi would still be the current Ho Zi, while Xia Yiwei would become someone else's wife, Xia Yiwei. "What opportunity is it that you can't tell me now?" Ho Zi got up from the sofa and stared fixedly at Xia Jinyuan. "The opportunity one want is an opportunity that requires me to reshuffle everything in my hand. Can you afford to give it to me?" Xia Jinyuan raised his eyebrows and said calmly, "Working with the territory under your feet, I wonder if this opportunity is big enough? Moreover, Brother Z is the only person I can think of who can help me now." Chapter 863. An opportunity to cooperate with the territory under his feet. Ho Zi swayed the red wine in his glass and stared sharply at Xia Jinyuan for a long time. After confirming something, he downed the red wine in his glass and smiled. "I believe in you, old Six. I believe in you too, Brother Z." Xia Jinyuan closed the door and left the room of the 37-year-old man who finally understood that Xia Yiwei was so important that she had become his life. A faint smile flashed across his cold eyes. Xia Yiwei was really a difficult woman to deal with. A simple break-up was enough to force a mafia boss to this extent. You don't want the world, but you want the beauty. Xia Yiwei, you've succeeded. Standing by the corridor on the 23rd floor, Xia Jinyuan looked through the glass and his deep eyes flickered slightly. Someone's wish came true, but he didn't know if he would be able to achieve it. The night was not bad. There were no stars or moon, and there was a little wind. It was a night very suitable for Yiyu. If his wish came true tonight, he would be able to fight side by side with Little Fox and also have a Yiyu a night rendezvous. Watch the sunrise. Sit on the sofa in the room on the 23rd floor and watch the sunrise together? He felt that it was not bad. Then, he would wait for the military to call. Although he said that he had returned to the southern province, it was dangerous to return to the southern province. It was dangerous to lure all the snakes to the southern province. He was in the country and the mission was not interrupted. Now, he just had to wait for the military to approve his request. The phone in his bathrobe vibrated. Xia Jinyuan's eyes darkened, but he didn't seem to notice it. There was a faint smile at the corner of his mouth. The man, who was wearing a bathrobe that couldn't hide his elegance, walked back to the room gracefully. This phone was specially modified. There was no one else other than the military and his comrades who would send a message at this time of night. He originally wanted to find Little Fox and drag her to watch the sunrise together, but it seemed that it would be a little later. I'm Q King. Q King, someone from abroad has sneaked into the country to carry out the second plan of the storm mission. The mission of luring the snakes out of their holes has begun. Xia Jinyuan opened the curtains in the room and sat on the same sofa as Ho Zi's room. He looked down at the city from above. Roger that. We've already contacted Ho Zi, the leader of the underworld in Southern Province. Our identities have been covered. We're ready for action. The phone was silent for a few seconds, but it felt like the entire night was about to pass. Your decision is very dangerous. Whether it's letting Ho Zi get involved or asking Yi Qian for help, it's all very risky. The military department opposes it out of caution, but Commander-in-Chief Xia supports it. Q King, your current identity is too special. We can trust Yi Qian, but Ho Zi, once she finds out and reveals your whereabouts, you should know what kind of trouble you'll be in. The voice on the other side of the phone was low and cold. It was the leader of all the members of the Snowfield Brigade, a major general in the army. Xia Jinyuan met him in Yi Qian in Pakistan. Xia Jinyuan said calmly, I'm sure Ho Zi's file is already on the military department's conference table. Although he's a member of the underworld, he's very principled. There have been people from abroad who have contacted him many times and tried to instigate him by offering him many favorable conditions. All the people sent were secretly dealt with by Ho Zi, and the foreign organizations didn't dare to retaliate. Just based on this, I believe Ho Zi won't reveal my identity. Chapter 864. Why did he come to Southern Province to look for Ho Zi? It was not only because Ho Zi was capable, but also because he trusted her character. Ho Zi was the only person in the country who dared to kill someone sent by an overseas organization. If it weren't for this, the military wouldn't have allowed you to contact Ho Zi, the Major General said solemnly. Although it's great that I'm willing to die in exchange for your life, and your decision is admirable, I don't want to see anything happen to any of you. The military has agreed to all your requests. Yi Qian is approved to join the operation as your second shield. She will be our hidden sword in Southern Province. If a snake comes out of its hole, the hidden sword will be unsheathed and kill without mercy. Xia Jinyuan's eyes flickered and the corners of his mouth curved slightly in the dark room. Since he had come to Southern Province, how could he not have Little Fox to fight alongside him? If Little Fox wanted actual combat experience, he would give it to her. As long as there was a chance, he would definitely give her actual combat experience. This was because he had promised that he would hold Yi Qian's hand tightly and grow with her. A gentleman's promise could not be bought with money. He had always kept his promise in his heart. At this moment, his wish came true. We still need to see her reaction. We won't inform her directly for now, the Major General said. The military hopes that she can be your support in Southern Province. We'll test her first before informing her. Yi Qian was a student. Even if her file appeared in the military and was recorded in the system, she was still a student. The military did not know her movements at all times. When the Major General said, "See her reaction," it was actually a test. He wanted to see if Yi Qian was qualified to be a hidden sword who could lure the snake out of its hole and kill without mercy. Major Xia, who wanted to hold Yi Qian's hand to watch the sunrise, nodded and said calmly, "Okay, follow the orders strictly. G3 will contact you later. Be careful." After the Major General said what he needed to say, he hung up the phone. A text message soon appeared on Xia Jinyuan's phone. It was a text from G3. It was also the text that Xia Jinyuan had been waiting for. G3 sent a message saying that he was rushing to Southern Province. K7, who had not been able to contact him, sent a message at 11:05 p.m. saying that he had entered the country safely. During this mission, K7 was injured and lost contact with his teammate. No one knew where he was. There were still 14 hours before the 120-hour deadline. G3 suddenly received a message from K7 saying that he had entered the country safely. It was good news to receive K7's message, but if he had entered the country, why didn't he give G3 his coordinates? Xia Jinyuan, who was a little worried after receiving the message, sat there quietly until 3:00 in the morning. It was already 3:00. Xia Jinyuan looked out of the window and smiled. It seemed like he could bring little Fox here to watch the sunrise together. At this time, Yi Qian had already fallen asleep. She had no idea that she would soon be fighting alongside Xia Jinyuan as a student. She was sleeping soundly and maintained her sleeping position. Even when she was sleeping, Yi Qian was very disciplined. When she opened her eyes again, there was a cold glint in her eyes. She pulled out a pillow with her right hand and threw it at the shadow standing beside her bed. She then rolled to the side of the bed and half-squatted to hide. Someone had snuck into her room, and she did not notice immediately. She had not trained for half a month and her vigilance had dropped so low. The moment she threw the pillow, she suddenly chuckled. "It's me." Chapter 865. It's me, Xia Jinyuan. It's him, the man she saw tonight, the man she had agreed to meet tomorrow, the man who came to see her immediately after completing a mission. Yi Qian, who had already picked up silver wire, heaved a sigh of relief. He sat down on the carpet and said impatiently, "Major Xia, why aren't you sleeping in the middle of the night? Are you on a mission?" "Yes, I'm on a very important mission." Xia Jinyuan, who had sneaked into the room in the middle of the night, put the pillow back on the bed. He smiled calmly and said, "I'm carrying out orders. In order to ensure Xia Jinyuan's physical and mental health, I have to arrest a little fox to prevent him from going crazy." Yi Qian was speechless. "You win, Major Xia. Also, it's really dangerous to have a Special Forces soldier as a boyfriend. You have to be wary of him sneaking into your room in the middle of the night to ambush you." Yi Qian, who was rubbing his temples, climbed back onto the bed. He looked at the man who had suddenly appeared in the room and was already standing by the bed. Yi Qian was both angry and amused. He said, "I was still in shock when you went crazy. Captain Xia, don't you feel the slightest bit embarrassed about doing such sneaky things when you're on the battlefield?" "No, I'm very glad that I'm a Special Forces soldier who can leap onto roofs and vault over walls. And I'm proud of it." Major Xia had always been thick-skinned, especially in front of Yi Qian. It was at least 10 centimeters thick and invulnerable. Other people's boyfriends can only be anxious when they think about their girlfriends in the middle of the night. But for me, I think about them whenever I think about them. It's so convenient. So, I'm quite proud of it. So, having a Special Forces soldier as a boyfriend, I have to set up many traps in my room before I go to bed in order to prevent him from harboring ill intentions. Yi Qian was so angry that he laughed. He was actually quite proud of something like this. This person, the more he interacted with him, the more he felt that he wasn't an inflexible man. He was just an idiot. She opened the bedside cabinet, turned on the light and looked at the time. 3:30 a.m. At 3:30 in the morning, Xia Jinyuan appeared in her room. Previously, when he sent her to the hotel, she saw that his face was full of fatigue. Now, when it was time to sleep, he appeared in the guest room of the Venus Hotel. What were the hotel staff and security personnel doing? It was not their fault. How could they have discovered the infiltration of a top Special Forces soldier? 3:30. You went back to the hotel to take a nap. Are you feeling energetic now? Yi Qian sat on the bed and stared at the man who was smiling elegantly. Then, his eyes widened slightly. You came in a hotel bathrobe? From Caesar Hotel to Venus Hotel? Xia Jinyuan, you. Even if you want to do something naughty in the middle of the night, why don't you change your clothes? Clothes, he had thought of changing, but he really didn't have any clothes to change into. The set of clothes that he had brought back tonight had already been burned to ashes. His tall body leaned over, and then he lay down on the bed. Then, he turned to face Yi Qian and supported his chin with one hand. His lazy posture had a casual air of nobility. Even his mischievous smile had an indescribable elegance to it. Little Fox was also someone who could fall asleep anywhere. When he broke into the room and heard her breathing, he knew that she was sleeping soundly. It was the first time he had done something like this. It was actually more stimulating than carrying out a mission. When he opened the door and found that there was no movement in the room, he was quite excited. Picking locks and picking doors was a small part of their training. Even if there was an anti-theft bolt inside a hotel, it was just a decoration to them. Chapter 866. After entering the room, he gently closed the door behind him. He walked into the room, where even the air was filled with her faint fragrance. He felt as if his organs had been cleansed, and all his fatigue and dust had disappeared. At this moment, Xia Jinyuan was completely relaxed. He looked at Yi Qian with a smile in his eyes. When he raised his eyes slightly, his gaze inadvertently fell on her chest for a few seconds. Yi Qian was still a little angry about his sneaking into her room in the middle of the night. She didn't notice that when Xia Jinyuan's gaze slid across her bare chest, there was a faint light in his deep black eyes. Even through her clothes, Xia Jinyuan was still able to reap the benefits in the middle of the night. The scenery was beautiful. If he stared at her for too long, she was afraid that she would directly raise her foot and kick him in the face. Before Yi Qian noticed, Xia Jinyuan calmly retracted his gaze, although he was reluctant to part with her. He smiled and replied, "I fled back to China like a refugee. Every time I went to a place, I had to change into a new set of clothes. Then, I burned the clothes I changed into and completely erased the traces to avoid being discovered. There were a total of 4 sets of clothes. The set of clothes you saw tonight was my last set of clothes. Also, it was picked up from the discarded clothes of a clothing factory. When I returned to the hotel, I immediately cleaned it up. The only thing I could wear was this hotel bathrobe." He spoke in a relaxed and cheerful tone as if he was joking. Yi Qian, who knew why even the clothes had to be burned, shuddered when she heard this. What kind of operation was so strict that even the clothes they wore on the way back had to be burned? Then, when they fought, they definitely weren't wearing our country's combat uniform. While she was still thinking, Xia Jinyuan's slow voice didn't stop. "The military uniform I wore that day is still on the ceiling of the utility room on the first floor of the airport. Tomorrow I'll need you to help me retrieve it. It's not convenient for me to come out in the next few days. Be careful when you retrieve it, and pay attention to your surroundings when you come back." Xia Jinyuan, who had gotten what he wanted, began to talk about the mission without any pressure. He did some small things to let Yi Qian know how dangerous the mission was. "You? Okay, I know. I'll get up now. I can take the car there." Yi Qian wanted to ask, "Are you safe now?" But he quickly changed his words. Since he was in front of her now, he should be safe. He stood up and said, "There will be a bus from the Caesar Hotel to the airport at 5 o'clock. I can take a ride there. Just wait for me to come back." As she stood there, Xia Jinyuan could clearly appreciate Yi Qian's figure. Her proportions could be said to be perfect. She was tall and well-proportioned, and every part of her body was exquisite as if it had been carved out of jade. It seemed that the benefits of sneaking into a room in the middle of the night were not just a little, but a lot more. If he was outside in the future, should he consider sneaking in a few more times? As he thought about it, Xia Jinyuan furrowed his brows and scolded himself in his heart. Dirty! Ever since he met the little fox, his moral bottom line had been lowered again and again. It's still early. You can get up after 6 o'clock. You can get the clothes back in the afternoon. There's no rush. Xia Jinyuan lifted the blanket that she was sitting on and smiled like a gentleman. It's a little cold. You're still wearing a short-sleeved shirt and shorts. You'd better lie under the blanket to avoid catching a cold. I'll wake you up when it's time. Chapter 867. After his reminder, Yi Qian, who didn't feel cold at first, looked down at herself. After she saw it, her white jade-like face instantly turned red. She jumped onto the bed with the same agility as she did during training and hugged herself tightly under the white blanket. "Xia Jinyuan!" she shouted angrily. The major raised his eyebrows with a confused look on his face. What's wrong? What's wrong? Why is he still pretending to be innocent and unaware? Yi Qian threw another pillow at his face. Do you dare say you didn't notice? You didn't see? No. Took a few more glances? Yi Qian, who was skilled in martial arts but had never been in a relationship in her 2 lifetimes, was too innocent to say the rest. Once Major Xia got angry, Yi Qian, who hadn't let loose in front of him, couldn't defend herself. Xia Jinyuan caught the harmless pillow and shook his head helplessly. I noticed, I saw, I even took a few more glances. I really wanted to remind you at the time, but I was afraid you would be embarrassed, so I didn't say anything. Little Fox found out when he said, "Be careful of catching a cold." Yi Qian didn't want to talk to him anymore. Now she understood why Xia Yiwei said Xia Jinyuan was the most troublesome person in the family. She already felt a headache coming on. This man always made her mad, but she couldn't find a reason to be mad at him. In the end, she just had to hold it in. She was holding it in until she hid under the blanket and didn't want to come out. When it came to these things, Yi Qian was as pure as a piece of paper. It was obvious that she was confused when it came to relationships and didn't know how to get along well with a man. Fortunately, Major Xia was also a blank piece of paper. He had a high EQ, but he had never been in a relationship before. After he met her, he immediately thought of being a gentleman and not scaring the underage little fox away. He softly coaxed her. I really didn't take a few more glances. I'm still a boyfriend, so how would I dare to take a few more glances? I was looking into your eyes and thinking about something else. Don't be cooped up in the blanket. Be careful not to suffocate yourself. If you really don't want to sleep, we can chat. Or you can pack up and we'll go back to the Caesar Hotel. I booked a room on the 23rd floor. We can sit on the sofa and watch the sunrise together. When he coaxed Yi Qian, his expression, voice, and eyes could all be seen and heard. Yi Qian could feel his gentleness and warmth close to her heart. Yi Qian gradually walked out of the awkwardness. She poked her head out of the quilt and looked at Xia Jinyuan, who was leaning against the bed and talking to her with his eyes closed. She frowned and said, "How long has it been since you had a good sleep?" There were dark circles under his eyes, which were the result of severe lack of sleep. 4 days and 4 nights. I haven't slept for that long. Xia Jinyuan's fierce expression disappeared when he heard her question. He took a deep breath of her sweet scent and said, "When I came back last night, Hosey chatted with me. Time passed by before I knew it." Yi Qian saw his frown and said softly, "Lie down and sleep for a while." Yi Qian understood how difficult and dangerous their missions were. She couldn't bear to see him like this. It was because she understood that she was especially gentle with this muddle-headed major. Chapter 868. No, I'm not sleepy yet. Although Xia Jinyuan's eyes were closed, his brain did not rest. Talk to me. Maybe I can fall asleep while listening to your voice. Yi Qian pursed his lips. Now that we're back in the country, why do you still look so worried? Did you encounter any difficulties? There was an accident during Operation Decapitation. Xia Jinyuan calmly explained the mission they were carrying out this time. He spoke without any pressure because he had received approval from the military, but Yi Qian, who did not know the situation, was shocked. Li Yan coldly reprimanded, Xia Jinyuan, open your eyes. How could he reveal the mission so easily? Didn't he know who he was? The top 10 confidentiality rules of the military. Look at what you're saying now. First, do not reveal secrets that should not be revealed. Second, do not ask about secrets that should not be asked. Third, do not look at secrets that should not be seen. Fourth, do not bring secrets that should not be brought up. Fifth, do not mention secrets in private letters. Sixth, do not record secrets in unclassified book. Seventh, do not use ordinary mail to transmit secrets. Eighth, do not read or discuss secrets in unclassified places. Ninth, do not privately copy, preserve, or destroy secret. 10th, do not bring secret carriers to travel or visit relatives and friends. You know all these. Seeing how anxious she was, Xia Jinyuan could not help but laugh. He raised his eyes and said, Operation Decapitation is just these 2 words. You have no way of knowing what kind of operation it is. This operation was called Operation Decapitation. The operation team did not encounter any problems. An electrical engineer in the embassy said that the Chinese side was sending people to repair the aging circuit, and his words alerted the enemy. The security level of the deployment made them squat in a sewer for 48 hours. When they came out, they could not feel their hands and feet. This was also the first time in several years that a comrade in the Snowfield Brigade had gone missing after an operation and had not returned to their positions. Yes, Operation Decapitation was just these 2 words, but what was decapitation? It was to destroy the enemy's leader and their organization. His mission this time was to go abroad and behead someone with a very big background. Yi Qian only thought about it, but his heart trembled. He wanted to warn him, but when he saw that he didn't even have the strength to open his eyes, he sighed in his heart. Didn't you say you were tired and needed to go back to sleep after sending me home last night? You didn't sleep at all last night. Go to sleep and stop talking. I don't want to listen to it anymore. Yi Qian forcefully pulled on his arm, wanting him to lie down and sleep comfortably. He was a soldier and a comrade who had fought side by side with her. If she didn't understand his hardships, who else could? A comrade would always be able to understand the hardships of a comrade. Xia Jinyuan, whose arm was being held by her, closed his eyes. He didn't even want to open them. He didn't even want to move. He had a faint smile on his face, and his breathing was shallow. When he spoke, his voice was extremely soft as he coaxed her. Be good, I know you have to keep it a secret. I've never forgotten. You should sleep too. I'll take a nap too. Previously, when I went back to the hotel, I was caught by Brother Z and talked for more than 2 hours. When I went back to my room, I had other things to do. Before I came to your place, I actually didn't sleep at all. Thinking about K7 and reading the message sent by G3, he sat there in deep thought. When he came back to his senses, it was already 3 in the morning. Then, he came to look for her. Chapter 869. With the approval of the military, he could openly look for her when he was on a mission. He could once again hold her hand and fight side by side with her. He had to let her take a breather first and figure out how dangerous the decapitation operation was. Then, he could judge whether she could handle the danger. Listening to her clear voice and smelling her scent in the air, Xia Jinyuan gradually felt tired. He couldn't even open his eyes now. Xia Jinyuan didn't speak again. He just wanted to have a good sleep. Major Xia coaxed himself to sleep. Xia Jinyuan fell into a deep sleep with his back against the headboard, his head upright, and his hands crossed in front of his lower abdomen. Yi Qian couldn't let him sleep like this. She lifted the blanket and gently knelt on the bed. She hugged his shoulders with both hands and held her breath. Little by little, she laid him down on his side. Yang Huang had reserved a double room for Xia Jinyuan, who was 1.86 meters tall, on the 1.88 meters wide bed. The space instantly became much smaller. His feet were still outside, so he had no choice but to lie on his side. The bed was only so wide. The blanket gently covered him. Yi Qian, who was no longer sleepy, quietly looked at the young major who was sleeping. He couldn't sleep well, and his expression was still as sharp as a sword. Yi Qian sighed softly in the room. The decapitation operation was the most dangerous operation. No wonder he felt tired. Look, he was so tired that he was frowning even when he was sleeping. Sleep well. Since you're back in China. Sleep well. Yi Qian reached out and stroked his eyebrows. She focused on him until she smoothed his eyebrows. Then, she gently got up from the bed. She had to rush to the airport to get his military uniform. When she left that day, the uniform was still wet. It had been left in the airport's utility room for more than half a month. She didn't know if it had gotten moldy. The sooner she got it back, the sooner she could wash it and iron it. When he woke up, he could wear it. Yi Jian got up and changed her clothes. When she was about to go out after brushing her teeth and washing her face, she saw Xia Jinyuan, who was frowning in his sleep, moving his body uncomfortably. From his expression, she could tell that he was in a deep sleep and had no intention of waking up. She guessed that he wanted to sleep in a more comfortable position. Looking at his frown, Yi Jian's eyes flashed with a trace of pity. She walked to the bedside and wanted to pick up the short-sleeved shirt and shorts she had just thrown on the bedside, folded them and put them aside. Who knew that just as she was about to make a move, she saw his long arms wrap around her clothes and blanket, directly covering his face. She even heard an extremely soft, yet exceptionally deep, comfortable sound. At that moment, Yi Qian almost ran. He covered his face with her clothes and by the sound of it. All the way to the hotel lobby, Yi Qian's face was still hot. Her eyes were so hot that they were like pools of spring water, revealing a touch of seduction. "Hey, aren't you Yang Heng's classmate?" someone asked softly from behind, followed by the thump-thump of high heels. "What's the matter? Are you not used to sleeping here?" The person who spoke was Yang Heng's aunt, the boss of Venus. One of the hotel staff who was working next to her saw this and said softly, "President Song, I'll drive over now. Please wait for a moment." President Song recognized Yi Qian at a glance because he had a deep impression of Yi Qian. A clean and beautiful girl would leave a deep impression wherever she went. Chapter 870. Is the room not good? If it's not good, Auntie will change it for you immediately. She walked directly to Yi Qian and smiled kindly. "You are all guests, we have to make sure you sleep comfortably in the hotel." She was a capable woman. Yi Qian quickly composed himself and politely said, No, I have to go to the airport. That's why I woke up early. I slept very well and didn't feel uncomfortable at all. She could fall asleep anywhere. It was just that the hotel's security personnel had sent a special forces soldier over. She was startled awake at 3:30 in the morning. "Going to Jiang? That's great, I also need to go to the airport to pick someone up. Take my car." Manager Song, with her exquisite makeup, laughed heartily. She must have just woken up, as her eyes were still bloodshot. "The staff helped me get the car. Let's go and wait outside." She turned to the front desk and said, "Xiaofang, prepare 2 sets of breakfast for me. 1 set with coffee and the other with fresh milk." Yi Qian's indifferent face lit up with joy. He quickly thanked her. "Thank you, Manager Song. I won't stand on ceremony then." This way, she wouldn't have to wait until 5 o'clock to take a ride from Caesar Hotel. She could pick up her military uniform earlier. "Aya, child, you can just call me Auntie. Why are you calling me Manager Song?" Manager Song, who still had a stern expression, couldn't help but laugh. This child was really polite. "Don't blame me for making the decision alone. Let's go, the car is here." Yang Heng's Auntie Song was a divorced woman. They divorced 8 years ago, and her daughter was awarded to her husband. Now, she was going to pick up her daughter from France, whom she hadn't seen for more than 2 years. The car drove over. Yi Qian's gaze fell on the 1997 red Ferrari. He saw that Auntie Song was yawning several times. Yi Qian, who originally wanted to say that she could drive to the airport, silently shut his mouth. "Auntie, did you not rest well last night?" Yi Qian sat in the front passenger seat and couldn't help but ask. When she was training with the motorists, the most common thing the instructor said was, "Don't drive when you're tired." Looking at Auntie Song, who looked rather tired and yawned nonstop, Yi Qian was still a little worried. It was not good to drive while tired. President Song smiled as he started the car and slowly drove into the entrance of the lobby. "You didn't sleep the whole night. Are you worried that I can't drive well?" "Don't worry, I still have the skills. I used to be able to drive steadily even if I didn't sleep for several nights in a row." Throughout the journey, Manager Song's driving skills were indeed not bad, but every time she yawned deeply, Yi Qian felt a chill run down his spine. When the motor vehicle soldiers were assigned to night training, if they were really tired, they would eat morning peppers to refresh themselves and apply cooling ointment to resist fatigue. They would use all kinds of hard methods to keep their minds clear all the way. However, Director Song and the others were different. It was impossible for them to use such a ruthless method to refresh themselves. If they were so tired all the way, there would definitely be problems driving. Yi Qian didn't care about the value of the car anymore. He simply smiled and said, "Auntie Song, let me drive. It will take an hour to get to the airport. I'll drive. Why don't you sit and rest for a while?" Just as Yi Qian finished speaking, a strong light suddenly shone from the opposite side. This was not the strong light of a small car, but the strong light of a large truck rushing towards them. President Song, who hadn't had a good rest, couldn't help but squint when the strong light shone on her. She didn't even realize what was happening in front of her. Chapter 871. Yi Qian, who had been paying attention, didn't even have time to say "be careful." He released his seatbelt in a second and leaned toward the driver's seat. His hands gripped the steering wheel and turned it quickly. As the bright light rushed toward them, Yi Qian said calmly, "Step on the accelerator, quick." In that second, Director Song's brain still reacted. She stepped on the accelerator as low as possible, and the entire car was like an arrow released from a bow. Under Yi Qian's control, the car made a beautiful drift on the road. The rubber wheels rubbed against the ground, making a sharp squeaking sound. Amidst Song's screams, Yi Jian completed the second lateral drift in a row, causing the entire sports car to rush forward with a boom, thus avoiding the rampage of the truck. Fortunately, it was a Ferrari sports car. Its refueling speed and control were top-notch. That was why it could complete 2 drifts in such a situation. Bang, bang, bang! There were several loud noises. From the rear-view mirror, they could clearly see that the truck on the opposite side of the road had crashed into the guardrail in the middle of the road. It continued to sweep forward, breaking several lamp posts, and finally rushed into the green belt. After avoiding the danger, Yi Qian turned the steering wheel and said in a deep voice, "Auntie, let's park the car and get out to check the situation." No matter what she learned was useful. If she hadn't trained with the auto soldiers, this would have been the second time she had lost her life. Compared to Director Song, who was scared stiff, Yi Qian was unbelievably calm. She didn't even have a trace of fear on her face. Even her eyes were as calm as a mirror. Director Song, who was scared out of her wits, didn't even know how she lifted her foot to step on the brake. She even forgot to pull the handbrake. It was Yi Qian who pulled it and turned off the engine. "Auntie Song, calm down first. I'll get out to check the situation." Yi Jian had encountered accidents like the one just now when he was training. His brain and his hands reacted together. His brain thought of a way to avoid the accident in the first place, and his hands reacted quickly with his brain. Thus, he could nimbly and calmly avoid the sudden accident. In the car, Manager Song was still in a daze. When Yi Qian spoke to her, she turned her neck stiffly and looked at Yi Qian in a daze. Although he said he was looking, his pupils were dilated. His gaze was not focused on Yi Qian, which meant that his brain could not keep up. He did not know what Yi Qian had said, nor did he know what he was doing. After getting out of the car, Yi Qian saw that the front of the truck that had rushed over from the opposite side of the road was twisted out of shape. Car parts were scattered all over the road, and the long truck compartment was overturned in the middle of the horses, blocking the road to the airport. Yi Qian's first reaction was to look across the road to see if any cars had been hit. A gust of wind blew past, bringing with it the smell of gasoline and paint. These were all very pungent smells. Yi Qian, who was sensitive to smells, wrinkled his nose uncomfortably. Something happened. Something's wrong. Quick, call the police, call the police. On the opposite side of the road, the two private cars that had picked up people from the airport stopped one after another. Those with cell phones quickly called the police, while others called the ambulance. Then, another car sped into the city without stopping on the opposite side of the road. The speeding car meant that the traffic on the opposite side of the road was smooth, and no cars were hit. On her side, the scene was very tragic. Car parts were scattered everywhere. 5 lampposts were knocked down, and the lamppost at the edge was lying on top of the truck compartment. The cables buried in the ground were dragged out. Yi Qian looked at the cables carefully. He did not see any signs of wires being torn. Chapter 872. The cars heading to the airport saw this from afar and stopped on the side of the road. The large truck in the middle of the road blocked their path. Yi Qian had already run to the front of the deformed truck and realized that the front tire was missing. The pungent smell of gasoline wafted from the front of the truck. The engine of the truck had shut down after the collision, and the entire engine had stopped working. The truck was too high, so Yi Qian jumped on the road and shouted, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you tell me how many people are in the truck?" The smell of blood mixed with the smell of gasoline and gradually drifted into her ears. It started faintly and grew stronger. Yi Qian, who did not hear a reply, took a deep breath. She needed to climb onto the truck to see what was going on inside. When she saw that the fuel tank was intact, she did not hesitate to climb onto the side of the humongous truck. Using the dim street lights in front of her, she looked through the broken windows and saw that there were 3 people in the truck. The driver was the most seriously injured. The lower half of his body was stuck in the deformed front of the truck. Blood flowed from his head down his face to his neck. In addition to the bleeding from his head, the driver's lower body was more seriously injured. However, there was no way to save him in a short time. Yi Qian pulled on the door with a heavy gaze. In fact, the door was already deformed, but she did not give up and wanted to try. She pulled a few times, but the door did not move at all. Yi Qian could only give up trying to open the other door. "Yi Qian, get down!" Manager Song, who had calmed down, came over with weak legs. When she saw Yi Qian standing beside the deformed truck, she was so scared that her heart almost jumped out of her throat. "Get down, get down! The gasoline is so heavy. Be careful of the explosion." Just now, it was this young lady who saved her life. She really saved her life. If she hadn't suddenly leaned over and agilely turned the steering wheel to make 2 drifts, the car she was driving would have been completely deformed by the head-on collision. If she had not met her tonight, her life would have been over. Completely over. Seeing her climb onto the big truck that had already been scrapped despite the danger, her knees went weak. She yelled at the top of her lungs, "Get off now! It's dangerous! Get down! Quick!" She used too much force and choked on the wind. Manager Song, who had always paid attention to her image, and was now coughing in a sorry state. "It's okay. The fuel tank is not damaged. The engine turned off automatically and there is no flame. There's no danger of an explosion for now." Yi Qian, who had jumped of the truck, frowned and said to Manager Song, "The driver's life may be in danger. There are 2 people in the front passenger seat." Yi Jian did not dare to rush to the rescue. She was afraid that if she acted rashly, it would worsen the injury of the injured. She had to observe carefully first. "Director Song, please call 120 and the fire department. Someone needs to come over for the repair of the power supply." People had already surrounded the truck. They all stood about 2 meters away from the truck. No one dared to come up. When they saw a young lady like Yi Qian jump out, they thought she had come out of the truck. Someone shouted, "Young lady, what's the situation with the truck?" Chapter 873. It's not good. There are 3 people in the car. The lower half of the driver's body is stuck, and the front of the car is deformed. The injured person sitting at the side of the front passenger seat should have lighter injuries. Yi Qian gave them a simple answer. She climbed to the front passenger seat and tried to open the door. The car was locked from the inside, so there was no way to open it. She took off her school uniform jacket and wrapped it around her right hand. She grabbed the broken glass and quickly pulled off one piece after another. She needed to reach into the car to unlock the door. Yi Qian pulled off the sharp glass piece by piece until she found the small lever to unlock the door. She pulled it, and with a click, the locked front passenger door opened. "Does anyone have a flashlight? Can you lend it to me?" When the door was pulled open, Yi Qian turned around and said to the pedestrians who were blocking the road, "I need a flashlight to check the injuries of the trapped people." The onlookers realized that the girl was not from the truck, but a passerby. 2 drivers did not hesitate and immediately ran back to their cars to take out flashlight. Some hesitated and chose to stand aside to watch. Chief Song was on the phone with his brother-in-law, Chief Yang. He said anxiously, "Brother-in-law, there was a car accident at the intersection of Zhongjian Road near the airport. A truck came from the opposite side of the road, and the front of the car was deformed. Yi Qian, this brave girl, is rescuing people by herself. Get someone here." Chief Yang was the chief of the Transportation Bureau. The traffic accident happened to be the Traffic Police Department's responsibility. Hearing this, he was not sleepy anymore. He did not even bother to ask why Yi Qian was with his aunt at night. He got out of bed and said, "Have you called the police? What's the situation? Give the phone to Yi Qian." "I called the police, I called the police. I also told the fire department." "Wait a moment, I'll give the phone to Yi Qian." Chief Song walked around the back of the car with the phone and saw a few people shining flashlights into the car. Yi Qian was holding onto the car door with one hand and peeking his head into the car to observe. Her heart was still palpitating as she trotted over. Before she could pass the phone to Yi Jian, she was shocked by the tragic situation in the car. She stopped in her tracks. Under the flashlight, the car was covered in blood. The 3 people inside were lying on the ground like they were covered in blood. None of them had any reaction. Brother-in-law, it's very bad. Yi Qian is saving people." She didn't dare to hand the phone over. No matter how strong she was in business, she had never seen such a bloody scene. Chief Yang had already put on his clothes with the help of his wife. After hearing this, his expression became even more serious. "Remind Yi Qian that the car has an oil leak and caught fire. Tell the people participating in the rescue not to bring any firework. No smoking at the scene." Chief Yang instructed on the phone. At the scene, Yi Qian said, "The driver's right leg is stuck. We need to stop the bleeding. Who has a jack or a wrench in the car? Let's save the injured people on the outermost side first." Although Yi Qian had never participated in a rescue before, he had learned how to participate in a rescue when he was training with the soldiers. With a calm gaze, she calmly ordered the adults around her. She followed the rule of observing first before rescuing. After giving the instructions, She checked the condition of the injured people on the outermost side. Female, about 40 years old, slightly plump. Unconscious, breathing, pulse strong, head hit, no signs of bleeding. There was no major bleeding on the upper and lower body, but the person fell forward. There was a possibility of internal injuries or broken ribs. Chapter 874. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? After observing that there was no obvious serious injury, Yi Jian pressed her finger on the middle-aged woman's philtrum. Her voice was slightly cold as she calmly called out each word clearly. After about a minute, the middle-aged woman let out a low moan and regained consciousness. Do you feel any pain in your chest? Yi Qian immediately asked after the middle-aged woman opened her eyes. Professional terms came out of her mouth one after another, making the people involved in the rescue think that she was a medical student. No, I was knocked unconscious. My husband, the middle-aged woman said and turned to look at the driver's seat. She saw that her husband's head was bleeding and he was sitting quietly with his head lowered. Seeing this, the middle-aged woman suddenly became agitated. She grabbed Yi Qian's hand and begged, save my husband, please save my husband. Two trucks on the opposite side of the road suddenly braked and stopped. The two drivers in the trucks jumped out and ran over. Old Guan, Old Guan. Before they arrived, they were already shouting, Old Guan, Old Guan. Old Guan was the driver of the accident. They were a family. The middle-aged woman was Old Guan's wife, and the one sitting in the middle was Old Guan's partner. With the help of the driver's friends, the rescue operation progressed even faster. The driver's friends kept saying with trembling lips, Daughter, you have to help us. Old Guan can't die. He can't die. Uncle, everyone is working together now. We don't want to see the worst outcome. You should comfort the anxious woman first. We'll use the tools to save her. Yi Qian held the flashlight and confirmed that Old Guan's wife's left leg was stuck and that the blood supply to her left leg was normal. Only then did he start the rescue operation. Straighten the woman's body. Stabilize her neck and spine. Give me the jack. At this time, Yi Jian had undoubtedly become the temporary commander-in-chief. She used what she had learned in medical school and what she had learned in the army to start the rescue. There was no way to completely stuff the jack under the car. Half of it was still outside. Even so, it played a rescue role. With the addition of the wrench, the first person rescued was the emotional middle-aged woman. After being rescued, no one dared to let her get out of the car. Instead, they carefully carried her out. After Old Guan's wife was rescued, she collapsed on the roadside and cried loudly. Someone gave her water and a clean towel to wash her face. Before the traffic police and firefighters arrived, the people who participated in the rescue were all silently contributing their own small effort. 5 minutes later, 3 doctors who had entered the village for a volunteer medical consultation drove past. When they saw the situation, they immediately participated in the rescue. Stop the bleeding first, then inject the intravenous injection. The rest of the people can rest for a while. These 2 injured people need to be rescued by the firefighters. Prepare the tourniquet and intravenous injection. Quick, quick, quick. With the presence of professional doctors and their medical supplies, the whole wait was no longer as stressful. When Old Guan's wife saw the doctors, it was as if she had seen hope. She cried until her voice was hoarse. She sat weakly and did not even feel the needle pricking the back of her hand. With the tourniquet in hand, Yi Qian slowly climbed into the deformed car. With the help of the doctors, he first wrapped the tourniquet around the driver's injured right leg. Then, he took the intravenous needle and inserted it into the driver's arm. Chapter 875. The drip was still flowing, proving that the driver's vital signs were still there. Here, young lady, give this patient an intravenous injection. The doctor handed the intravenous needle to Yi Qian, who had ignored the danger and crawled into the car to save the person. He said to her calmly, "We'll watch from the outside. Be careful inside." Thanks to this brave young lady, who was petite and extremely agile, they were able to carry out the follow-up work. Otherwise, even if they had the medicine, they were all male doctors. Without a nurse by their side, they wouldn't have been able to climb into the deformed car to save the person. When Yi Qian came out of the car, his clean school uniform was stained with blood. Even his face was stained with blood. The driver's life is in danger. The car is too tight and the injury is too serious. She lowered her voice and whispered to the doctor, "His pulse isn't strong. It's very likely that he won't make it." The injury was very serious. Not only were his lower limbs severely injured, but there was also blood flowing out of his mouth. All signs indicated that the driver's injury was very serious. The doctor sighed softly. "Let's see if he can overcome the heavens. Young lady, are you injured?" Chief Song, who had been waiting by the side, watched as Yi Qian whispered to the doctor. Even a businesswoman like her, who was used to seeing all kinds of people, applauded Yi Qian's courage and courage. This young lady, other than what her elder sister said about her being pure, she was also kind. If she hadn't been the first to stand out and participate, she dared to say that the onlookers would have done the same thing as her. A terrible car accident and unknown danger. Everyone had an instinctive fear in the face of such things. This fear was self-protection. Once they entered self-protection, they wouldn't easily step forward to help. However, she stood up and calmly commanded them. Wrong. Before the doctors arrived, she was the one who commanded and arranged the entire scene. She also strictly and professionally asked about the situation of the car accident victims. With someone taking the lead, more and more people came to help. Ambulances, fire engines, and police cars arrived one after another half an hour later. Yi Qian didn't stay at the scene. There were 3 doctors at the scene. They would inform the relevant personnel of the injured one by one. A kind-hearted passerby took out a box of mineral water from the car for Yi Qian to wash the blood off his face and hands. Director Song opened another bottle for Yi Qian to wash his face. "You must be tired. You've been rescuing people for half an hour." Yi Qian said embarrassedly, "I'm sorry, Auntie Song. I was so busy that I forgot." "If you're embarrassed, I'll be too ashamed to show my face." Director Song sighed. She had helped out earlier by putting her shawl on the middle-aged woman who was the first to be rescued. Then, she called the hospital and used her connections to greet them. Other than that, she did nothing else. Compared to Yi Qian, who had been busy since the beginning, she really couldn't help at all. "There are clothes in the car that I usually wear after work. If you don't mind, you can change into them in the car. They're all clean, so don't worry." Manager Song's attitude towards his savior was definitely not the same as how an adult would treat a child. There was a sense of familiarity and respect in his attitude. Yi Jian looked at the bloodstains on her body and thought of Manager Song's expensive Ferrari. She felt that she really needed to change her clothes because of the bloodstains on her body. Director Song's sports car appeared at the 1995 Beijing Auto Show. As a manufacturer, Ferrari made its first appearance at an auto show in China. After that, several mysterious rich people bought the Italian sports car, which had a sky-high price. Chapter 876. Manager Song's sports car appeared at the 1995 Beijing Auto Show. As a manufacturer, Ferrari made its first appearance in China's auto show. After that, several mysterious rich people bought the Italian sports car, which was sold at sky-high prices. Manager Song was one of the mysterious rich people. She took out 6 paper bags from the back of the car. They were all branded with the logos of luxury brands. She searched through the bags and said, "This one won't do. The color doesn't suit you. It's too old. This one won't do either. It's an evening gown. This one seems okay. Oh no, it's an A-line dress set. It's not suitable for students. Manager Song nodded in satisfaction after searching through the fifth bag. This one will do. This one will do. The long-sleeve dress is perfect for this time of year. You won't feel cold. She took out a custom-made, lake green linen long-sleeve dress. It had ethnic elements. Peony flowers were embroidered with colorful silk threads. It was refreshing and enchanting. The style and style were rarely seen in the market. Just by looking at it, one could tell that it was expensive. After searching through several bags, she was satisfied with this dress. Manager Song didn't feel bad at all. She directly stuffed the dress into Yi Qian's hands and said firmly, "Don't be polite with Auntie. You saved Auntie's life. Not to mention one dress, I'll give you hundreds of dresses. Go change in the car. I'll keep a lookout for you." She didn't give Yi Qian a chance to be polite. She said, "Auntie isn't afraid that you'll dirty the car. Think about it. When we arrive at the airport, why would the airport staff let you in when you're covered in blood?" Indeed, there was no reason to refuse. If she entered the airport with a bloody uniform, it would scare others and the airport staff. Manager Song was slightly shorter than Yi Qian. When Yi Qian put on the ethnic autumn cotton dress, her facial features were beautiful. She was tall and slim, so the dress came alive. It was a combination of innocence and enchanting. Large peony flowers bloomed alluringly from the side of the skirt to the waist, and then to the chest. A few branches with vines curled up and then delicately extended to the neckline. A clear and seductive temperament assaulted one's senses. She was an obedient female student in her school uniform. Once she changed her clothes, her temperament changed so much that even Mr. Song was amazed. "Beautiful, beautiful, so beautiful. My friend said he's going to Hong Kong and Taiwan to hire a model. He doesn't need one, he can just ask you." Yi Qian couldn't see the effect of the dress, but he could only see President Song praising it. He couldn't help but smile and say, "Auntie Song, it's your dress that's beautiful. No matter how beautiful a dress is, someone has to wear it. The person who wears it has to have a temperament to make the dress beautiful." CEO Song's complexion had yet to recover, and his voice was still a little hoarse. He had shouted Yi Qian so loudly just now that his throat was filled with blood. He took out 2 bottles of mineral water from the car and handed one bottle to Yi Qian. Instead of driving immediately, he raised his head and took a big gulp of water. After a while, he smiled bitterly and said, "Xiao Yi, you drive. My legs are still a little weak. I don't even have the strength to step on the accelerator." Her legs went soft and she felt nauseous. Whenever she thought of the bloody scene in the carriage, she felt nauseous. Behind her, police lights flashed. The traffic police came over to direct traffic, the firefighters started the rescue, and the medical staff sent the injured to the hospital. Everything was carried out in an orderly manner. A car accident happened suddenly. Fortunately, it was around 4 o'clock in the morning. If it was daytime, the entire truck would have been driven from one side of the road to the other. The scene would have been even more tragic. Chapter 877. As for the driver, Old Guan, no one could guarantee that he could be saved. Yi Qian said softly, "It's all over now. I'll drive. You should rest for a while." The scene was indeed tragic, but on the battlefield, it was even more tragic. "You don't seem to be afraid at all. Your reaction to avoid the car was also very fast. Xiao Yi, Auntie is a little curious about you." Yi Qian was the one driving the Ferrari. It was her first time driving such a luxury car, so Yi Qian was not unfamiliar with it. In her previous life, she had worked in a car shop that specialized in luxury cars. She had seen and touched luxury cars like Ferraris and Maseratis. Hearing this, she started the car and answered with a faint smile, "I grew up in the army. I'm bold and a little wild. I often see motor vehicle soldiers training on the field. Sometimes I would shamelessly sit on them. After a long time, I'm quite familiar with cars." No wonder she was so calm. She grew up in the army. Big Sis said that Xiao Ye's mother was a martyr, and both of her parents were dead. It made sense that she grew up in the army. If it wasn't for you tonight, Auntie wouldn't have been so lucky. After drinking a bottle of mineral water, Manager Song, who was still in shock, leaned back in her seat weakly. Looking closely, her fingers were still trembling. Escaping from death, this mental journey was not so easy to recover from. In the future, you really have to behave when driving. I think my driving skills are not bad, but compared to you, it's too far away. Manager Song said half jokingly, half seriously, Xiao Yi, are you interested in driving Auntie's car or something? I'll definitely pay you well. If it's a long trip, I'll pay you 3 times the hourly rate. How about that? Manager Song was not entirely joking. She really wanted to ask Yi Qian to drive for her. Of course, if Yi Qian did not agree, she would not force it. After all, Yi Qian was still a student. However, her years of successful business experience told her that some things had to be tried. Only after trying would she know if it was possible. Yi Qian laughed. Even though she had just walked out of the car accident, her expression was still calm. The bloody scene did not cast any shadow on her. She smiled and said, Your suggestion is indeed very tempting, but I'm still a student. I don't even have a driver's license. But don't worry. Although I don't have a driver's license, I'll drive very seriously so that both of us can arrive at the airport safely. Her words were calm and composed, with a hint of teasing and a hint of playfulness. When he spoke, his voice was very steady. It sounded like spring water flowing gently from the mountains. It had a mysterious power that calmed people's hearts. Director Song was already laughing out loud. She was a strong career woman. She was never stingy with her praise for the people and things she admired. Yes, it's a pity that you're still a student. People like you, in our words, are hard to come by. No wonder her sister was so relaxed about Heng making friends outside. Even though Heng sometimes went to the internet cafes outside and occasionally got into fights outside, her sister and brother-in-law never cared. It turned out that they trusted Heng's judgment and his ability to make friends. To have a friend like Yi Qian, even if she was the only friend in her life, was a lifetime of fortune. As they chatted and laughed, the car accident scene got further and further away. Under Yi Qian's clear voice, the fear on Director Song's face gradually dissipated. The fear in her heart also gradually disappeared. Soon, this strong career woman in the business world gradually calmed down. Chapter 878. The car drove into the parking lot of the airport. Yi Qian parked the car and handed the car keys to President Song. Auntie Song, I might have to leave in a bit. I have to rush back to the hotel for something, so I can't wait for you. Be careful on your way back. If there's really no other way, you can ask a friend or the hotel's driver to pick you up. President Song's daughter arrived at the airport at 7:45 p.m., and it was only 5 p.m. Yi Qian didn't want to keep Xia Jinyuan waiting for too long. She wanted to send the military uniform back as soon as possible. He had to have something to wear. Also, he was in her room. What if a classmate from grade 12 came over and saw a grown man in a bathrobe in her room? What would they think? After considering everything, the military uniform had to be sent to him immediately. She looked down at the long dress she was wearing. It was expensive. She had to wear it. Forget it, she could only wear it first. After saying thank you again, Yi Qian headed to the first floor of the airport. Yi Qian walked very quickly and disappeared from President Song's sight in the blink of an eye. Watching the slender and delicate figure disappear before her eyes, President Song of Southern Province's second-largest hotel, Venus Hotel, sighed softly. This little girl was extraordinarily capable. She was so capable that even an adult like her felt a little inferior. Her phone vibrated. President Song looked at the caller ID and answered, "Hello, brother-in-law." "Me? I'm at the airport with Yi Qian. Yes, we're fine. No, I should say that if it weren't for Yi Qian, you might have seen me and my wrecked car at the scene of the accident. President Yang rushed to the scene of the accident. He heard people saying, if it weren't for the little girl in the school uniform, the 3 people in the car might not have survived. They were all talking about the little girl in the school uniform. Even the 3 doctors who participated in the rescue said that it was all thanks to the girl in the school uniform. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to climb into the car. President Yang was deeply moved. Needless to say, the little girl in the school uniform they were talking about was Yi Qian. Yi Qian, who was full of courage, had a strong sense of righteousness about her. She was clear about good and evil, and she was flexible. Huiying said that she wanted to take her as her goddaughter. This was a good decision. Yang Huang had a younger sister, and Xiao Yi had an older brother. Both of them were sentimental people, so it was best for them to be brother and sister. It was a good thing to go back and ask his wife to settle the matter. He supported it wholeheartedly. Why is Yi Qian at the airport so early in the morning? Why are you 2 together? Feeling emotional, Director Yang asked his wife's sister, I'm at the scene now. There are 2 traces left by drifting cars. Did you drive? Mr. Song let out a long sigh. He still had some lingering fear when he mentioned the incident. No, Yi Qian was the first to notice the abnormal situation on the opposite side of the road. She reacted quickly and snatched the steering wheel from me. She drifted twice to avoid the truck that was rushing towards us. Yi Qian grabbed the steering wheel and drove his sister-in-law Song Tinglin's car, quickly avoiding the oncoming cars. Even Chief Yang found it unbelievable. He asked, Are you 2 really okay? President Song rolled down the car window and rubbed his forehead with one hand. We're fine. We're really fine. Yi Qian came to the airport to do something. I didn't ask what it was about. Now that she's gone, I'm still waiting for my daughter to come back. As long as they were fine, as long as they were fine. Director Yang didn't ask any more questions. He said, okay, and hung up. Chapter 879. Chief Song wanted to talk about how scary the car accident was, but her fingers were still rubbing her temples when the phone beeped. Her brother-in-law would never take the initiative to wait for someone to hang up. She threw the phone aside and closed her eyes to calm her mind. The driver had not been rescued yet, and the road to the airport was blocked. The traffic police cleared the fence in the middle of the road and made a road to the airport on the opposite side of the road to avoid the traffic jam. When the sun rose, it was even more dangerous. Everyone was secretly glad that the accident happened in the early hours of the morning when there were fewer cars. This big truck had crossed the road directly from the opposite side of the road. If it had really collided, all the cars would have been crushed into scrap metal. Chief. A traffic police ran over. Chief Yang kept his phone and immediately went into the emergency rescue. We were checking the broken wheel of the truck just now. We took out 4 steel nails from the front wheel. The preliminary judgment is that the driver was negligent and did not notice the nails, causing the accident. The traffic police reported their findings one by one. Beside him was the driver's friend, an old friend who drove together with him. After we got off the highway, we specially checked at the repair shop at the intersection. We rested for a while before driving again. Chief, we can pat our chests and say that there are absolutely no steel nails in the wheels. We have been driving for 6 or 7 years. We definitely did not miss such big steel nails. The driver was from Hunan and had a heavy hometown accent. The traffic police added, the 4 steel nails are the most common too. 4-inch steel wheels. Once they pierced the inner tire, it would cause the tire to burst during high-speed driving, causing the truck to lose balance and causing the accident. That's right. We are experienced drivers. Our lives are in the car. How can we be careless? Before and after getting off the highway we have to stop and check. The driver said with red eyes as he wiped his tears, Old Guan is our master. I always follow Old Guan when I go out. How could he not notice it? How can he be so careless? Last night, Old Guan also checked himself with a flashlight. Chief Yang took a steel nail and looked at it. This was a brand new one and was the most common steel nail. He thought it was a car accident caused by a burst wheel, but after listening to the analysis, it did not seem like a normal car accident. Bring the people from the repair shop here and ask the driver's wife. Also, call the police station and ask them to send someone over. Director Yang quickly made arrangements and took control of the entire situation so that his subordinates could carry out their work in an orderly manner. After waiting for someone from the Public Security Bureau to arrive, Director Yang called Director Song again. He wanted to ask if there were any other discoveries at the scene of Yi Qian's car accident. After all, Yi Qian had a photographic memory and had helped solve major cases before. Yi Qian, who had already arrived at the airport, was standing on the first floor of the airport, looking at the distribution map. Suddenly, she heard the announcement that someone was looking for her. When she heard the last line, "Your friend Miss Song is waiting for you at the reception desk," Yi Qian moved over to the reception desk. Miss Song, that would be President Song. When he walked to the service desk, he saw President Song holding a phone in his hand, looking around to see which side he could appear from. Yi Qian walked quickly and raised his hand to greet her. "Auntie Song, I'm here. I'm sorry for calling you over again. Yang Heng's father is looking for you urgently. He said that he wants to ask about the car accident." As she spoke, she dialed the number and passed it to Yi Qian. "He insisted that I come over. Don't be afraid. Just say whatever you want to say." Chapter 880. Director Yang's voice came from the phone. It was different from last night's friendly tone. He asked, "Xiao Yi, did you notice anything unusual at the scene of the accident early this morning?" "Unusual?" Yi Qian's expression turned cold when she heard that. She recalled the moment before the accident. The scenes before the car accident seemed to have been frozen in her mind. As she recalled them, they slowly moved like a film. At that time, she first heard a loud bang, followed by a huge bright light shining from the front. She didn't have any other thoughts. She subconsciously grabbed the steering wheel from Director Song's hands and quickly completed 2 drifts to avoid the large truck that was rushing over. Then she got out of the car and rushed to the front of the stalled truck to check the situation. This was done by herself. As for the other side of the road, if there was anything unusual, Yi Qian closed her eyes and once again fixed the scene of her getting out of the car. Her gaze swept across the road. In her mind, she saw a car driving across the road. Because it was early in the morning, there were very few cars. There were only 2 cars in total, and both of them stopped at the same time. Wait, there was another car coming from behind. As she ran to the truck to check the situation, another car also drove across the road but didn't stop. After she finished recalling, Yi Qian said to Director Yang, who was waiting for her to speak, "At that time, there were 3 cars across the road. 2 of them stopped, but the other gray car didn't stop. I'm not sure about the license plate number. You can check the nearby electronic cameras and see if you can find the car that appeared at this time and what the license plate number is." After such a big accident, logically speaking, the car would stop to take a look. Even if it didn't stop, it would slow down before driving over. However, in Yi Qian's memory, the gray car kept speeding by without stopping. Therefore, this was the strange thing about this car. Since Director Yang asked her this, it meant that there was something different about this accident. What exactly was different? Yi Qian pursed her lips and asked again, "Can I ask if there was something wrong with the scene of the accident?" Bureau Chief Yang paused for a moment, then nodded and said, "There are 4 steel nails in the front wheel of the truck. But from what we know, when they got off the highway, the repair shop checked the wheels. The repair shop workers also confirmed that they did check every tire and did not find 4 steel nails." You mean to say that the 4 steel nails were actually inserted by someone? Am I right? Yi Qian's voice was slightly tense. If that's the case, then the car accident was caused by someone, right? This was also the reason why Chief Yang had called Yi Qian. Moreover, he trusted Yi Qian's judgment. For now, we can only suspect it, but we can't confirm it. We still need to go through a thorough investigation. Alright, little Yi, you can go back to your work. I've already understood the situation. Thank you for your cooperation. After Director Yang said that, he added, maybe he'll contact you. If there's anything I can do for you, I'll definitely do my best. If it was man-made, she would definitely help if she could. Director Song, who was next to her, got goosebumps when she heard that. She took the phone and said in a trembling voice, Little Yi, my brother-in-law told you that the accident was man-made? Someone wanted to kill the truck driver? Chapter 881. They said they found 4 steel nails in the wheel, but they don't know the details. Yi Qian couldn't answer clearly. They still had to investigate the scene to confirm whether it was man-made. The only thing that made her feel strange was the gray car that drove past the scene of the accident without slowing down at all. At that time, she only paid attention to whether there was an accident on the other side of the road, but she didn't notice the license plate of the car passing by. It was easy to find out, all she had to do was use her electronic eyes. President Song sighed and felt that it was better not to talk about this topic. Her mood was heavy when she talked about it. It was already 5:30. Yi Qian remembered that there were 4 utility rooms on the first floor of the airport, and Xia Jinyuan only said that his military uniform was placed on the ceiling of the utility room, so she had to search for it one by one. She said to President Song, who still didn't look too good, Auntie Song, why don't you go sit in the lounge? I'm not done here, so I can't accompany you. Hey, you don't have to accompany me, I'm just scared. Go do your work, go. She was already an adult, so why would she need a child to accompany her? No, she really couldn't treat Xiao Yi as a child. This child saved her life. As she watched Yi Qian leave, President Song prayed in her heart, God bless me. Luckily, she met Yi Qian before she left, otherwise she would be in trouble. At 5:30, the airport was empty, especially on the first floor, where there was no one for a long time. Yi Qian went straight to the first restroom. The 4 utility rooms were distributed on the sides of the restrooms, so it was easy to find. When she found the 3rd utility room, Yi Qian carefully opened the ceiling and saw a black plastic bag in front of her eyes. She took the plastic bag down and opened it, and a moldy smell directly hit her in the face. Just as she had guessed, the military uniform was already moldy. The military uniform, military cap, and shirt were all neatly folded. Even though there was a moldy smell, it didn't affect the prestige of the military uniform at all. At that time, Xia Jinyuan left in a hurry, but his military uniform was folded neatly. From this, it could be seen how much a soldier cherished his military uniform, which represented the dignity of the country. Yi Qian gently stroked the national emblem on her military cap and smiled. In less than 2 years, she would also be able to own such an impressive military uniform. It's time for the next shift. Team leader, I'm off work. A woman's voice came from outside. Yi Qian quickly hid behind the door. 2 middle-aged women in airport cleaning uniforms walked in. Team leader, we don't have any more disinfectant. We need to replenish it for the day shift. Last night, the night shift staff handed over their work. When the 2 of them walked to the counter, Yi Qian quickly left the storeroom without alerting them. At 5 o'clock in the morning, buses had already started coming in and out of the airport. Yi Qian didn't stay for even a minute. She took the 5:40 bus to the city and returned to the Venus Hotel around 7 o'clock in the morning. As soon as she stepped into the hotel lobby, Yi Qian bumped into a few seniors from Class 3 who were preparing to go home. Yi Qian, who was originally fine, suddenly tightened her grip on the bag in her hand. She inexplicably felt guilty. Luckily, she was wearing the dress that Director Song lent her, and not her school uniform. Lowering her head, Yi Jian, who felt inexplicably guilty, slightly avoided them and quickly walked to the elevator door before they noticed her. Chapter 882. After entering the elevator, Yi Qian breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, she didn't run into any other students. Otherwise, she wouldn't know how to explain herself. Actually, it didn't matter if she didn't explain. Who would ask her where she went? Guilty. Yi Qian didn't know why she felt guilty. In short, when she saw someone familiar, she would think of Xia Jinyuan's military uniform in her hand, and that there was an adult man hiding in her room. She would. Ding. When the elevator opened, she wouldn't stop thinking. Yi Qian was so shocked that she looked up abruptly. She watched the elevator slowly open and saw a few boys from Class 3 walking in, talking and laughing. "Hey Yi Qian, you're up so early?" The boys didn't come in immediately. Instead, they reached out to block the elevator door. "The breakfast is good. It's much better than the one in school. The pastry chef from Harbor City is really good. The baked cakes are delicious." They didn't notice that the elevator was going up from the bottom. They thought that Yi Qian had gotten up early for breakfast, so they enthusiastically introduced the food. "There's a type of crystal dumpling that's not bad. It's transparent on the outside, but we don't know what's inside. We're a little embarrassed to eat it again. Roast pork buns are also good. You can try it." Yi Qian, who didn't plan to come out but was scared, came out of the elevator. She smiled at her seniors and said, "Thank you. I'll try them all later." It was only 7:14 a.m. The grade 3 students did get up early. They had already finished breakfast. Yi Qian walked faster with a smile on her face. Guilty. She felt guilty even when she was holding a military uniform. She felt guilty when she thought of Xia Jinyuan sleeping in her room. A student woke up. What if he went to her room and knocked on her door? What if Xia Jinyuan opened the door in a bathrobe? What if? Thinking of this, Yi Qian, who had always been calm, felt her breathing quicken. She walked faster and faster. If Xia Jinyuan opened the door in a bathrobe, she didn't know how to deal with it. She still had to take some breakfast back. She wanted to eat, and so did Xia Jinyuan. The cake was fine, but not the crystal dumplings. The skin would harden if it got cold. The rice cake was not bad. It was easy to absorb. "Give me a bowl of porridge as well." Plain porridge can be eaten even when it's cold. After all, they were all soldiers. If they were hungry, they could even eat raw snake meat. Yi Qian, who was carrying breakfast for two, stood by the elevator. She prayed that she would not bump into any more students so that she could return to her room safely. In the elevator, Mother Yang was talking to her relative. "You don't have to eat out for lunch. Come to my house." Ting Lan picked Anqi up at the airport and asked her to come to my house directly. "I haven't seen Anqi for a few years. Let's have breakfast first. If we wait any longer, Heng Heng's classmates will have woken up. Let's eat first so that these children won't feel uncomfortable when they see us adults." As the elevator next door opened, Yi Qian looked at Mother Yang, who was the first to walk out. His eyes twitched. The more one was afraid of something, the more likely it would happen. Mother Yang was very happy to see Yi Jian, especially when she saw that Yi Jian was wearing a traditional dress. There was a smile in her eyes and she laughed out loud. "Good morning, Xiao Yi. You're so beautiful today. Auntie almost didn't recognize you." She then said to her relatives, "Don't you think she's prettier? She's wearing a school uniform and a long dress. She's obviously the same person, but I still like Xiao Yi in a long dress. She's so beautiful that it makes people's eyes light up." Chapter 883. The relatives standing next to Mother Yang looked at Yi Qian with a smile. Wasn't this the girl who played darts last night? It was said that her grades were the best in school. Last night, Heng Hing's classmates talked about her the most. At this time, Yi Qian's heart was beating like a drum. He tightened the bag containing Xia Jinyuan's military uniform. After being praised by Mother Yang, his face began to turn red. Feeling guilty and nervous, she could only try her best to maintain the smile on her face and not reveal anything strange. When the relative of the Yang family saw the little girl blushing after being praised by the adults, he smiled kindly and joked, "Look, you've made the little girl shy. All right, she still needs to go back to her room for breakfast. Stop praising her. It's not too late to praise her after breakfast." Amidst the laughter of the relatives, Mother Yang's gaze fell on the breakfast that Yi Qian was ringing. "I like Xiao Yi when I see her. She's natural and capable. She's a good child." Then she said to Yi Qian, "I'll ask the waiter to send it to you. Don't ring it yourself." Last night, she talked to old Yang in bed for a while and felt that it was a good idea to recognize Xiao Yi as a goddaughter. It would make the Yao family wary. Looking at the Yao family's behavior last night, even if she didn't like to fight with others, she still felt a chill in her heart. They had no principles at all. Old Yao and his wife were the main culprits for Xiao Jing's current personality. They were the ones who harmed Xiao Jing, but they didn't even know it. Yi Qian just wanted to leave quickly. He smiled politely and said, "No need, Auntie. There isn't much food. Thank you." "You're being too polite with Auntie again. The elevator is here. Go back to your room and eat first. I'll ask Yang Heng to come find you later." Last night, she said that she would let Xiao Yi come to her house for lunch. Now that she had to treat Ting Lan's family, she could only postpone it to tonight. Mother Yang smiled and said. In her heart, she was thinking about inviting Yi Qian to her house for lunch tonight. How could she ask Yang Heng to find her later? Yi Qian quickly said, "Auntie, I have something to do later. I'll leave first. Last night's incident is over. I'm fine here. Thank you for your concern." She glanced at the elevator floor number from the corner of her eyes. There was one more floor. It was a long wait. Leaving so early? Then you go back to your room and have breakfast. Just as the elevator arrived, Mother Yang smiled and said, "Go in quickly. It's late and breakfast is already cold." Watching Yi Qian say goodbye to her as he entered the elevator, Mother Yang's eyes had a warm smile. This child was afraid of troubling her family. In fact, in the end, it was Yang Heng who had implicated this child. That brat Jing saw that she was close to Yang Heng, and that was why she kept picking on Yi Qian. In the end, that brat Jing's heart was rotten to the core. Through the slit of the slowly closing elevator door, Yi Qian saw Mother Yang and the others leave while talking and laughing. The door hadn't closed yet. Yi Qian's whole body leaned against the cold metal surface of the elevator. There was a small amount of sweat on the tip of his nose. When the elevator stopped at the correct floor, Yi Qian stepped out of the elevator. She took a deep breath, and then she held her breath all the way to her room. She took out her card and swiped the door. She didn't meet any classmates and finally came back smoothly. She wasn't nervous at the scene of the car accident. Returning to the hotel, she was nervous like a thief. Sure enough, as long as it was something related to Captain Xia, she couldn't let go of herself. Her heartstrings were stretched taut. The room was very quiet. There was no sound at all. After gently closing the door, Yi Qian walked in with light footstep. She finally managed to catch her breath. Her breathing tightened again, and her face inevitably turned red again. Chapter 884. He actually maintained the same posture as when he left a few hours ago. He didn't move an inch, and just covered his face with her clothes. What kind of habit was this? He even covered his face with someone else's clothes. After putting away the breakfast, Yi Qian, who had originally wanted to take off his clothes, took 2 steps forward and hesitated. She raised her hand and gently patted her slightly flushed face. She took out his military uniform and walked into the bathroom. He didn't wake up even when she came back. It was obvious that he was really tired. Forget it, let him sleep. When Yi Qian turned on the water, she lowered the volume to the minimum for fear of waking him up. She didn't immediately wash the clothes, but turned on the shower head and washed her hair. Her hair was stained with blood. Other people didn't smell the blood, but she smelled it all the way back. The water flowed out gently, making a slight splash sound. After washing her hair, Yi Qian started washing the hat. She washed the military uniform until there wasn't a trace of mold. Yi Qian used the bath towel to soak up the water again, then began to dry himself with the hairdryer. She dried herself in the bathroom from 7 in the morning to 8:30 in the morning. Only her shirt wasn't dry. She hung the jacket and pants neatly on the hanger, then placed the tie together and hung everything on the hanger. Her movements were light and silent. She didn't wake up Xia Jinyuan, who had been sleeping for 4 days and 4 nights. Xia Jinyuan, who had used Yi Qian's clothes as a blindfold, slept soundly and peacefully. This was because there was a girl beside him. She had stood firmly and fearlessly by his side on a rainy night and said softly, "The relationship between the people and the people is thick in water. Comrades in the military, occasionally, as civilians, we can also be your shield. Protecting us is your unshirkable responsibility, so please allow me to contribute my meager strength to you." She knew to stand up bravely to protect him at such a young age. Now that she was a qualified reservist, he believed that she would protect him. The room was filled with her sweet scent, the bed was filled with the warmth of her body, and the tip of his nose was filled with the faint fragrance that belonged to her. These special effects, medicine, that allowed him to relax made him fall asleep on the bed, unwilling to wake up. He had to give up on sleep as soon as possible. If K7 still couldn't contact his team by today, then he and G3 would return to the battlefield to search for their missing comrades after completing the mission in the southern province. Outside the room, Yang Heng had a good night's sleep. His hair was wet, and he looked as handsome as a model in his blue and white striped uniform. He knocked on the door. "Yi Jian, are you awake? It was time to go down for breakfast." Breakfast is no longer served after 9 o'clock, so we can only eat outside. There were already students coming and going in the corridor. Some of them were carrying their backpacks and preparing to go home after breakfast. Some of them were still sleeping, like Wang Jin and the others. They had been singing and playing until 2 o'clock in the morning last night. How could they get up now? They were all sleeping soundly. Yang Heng, who had also slept until now, didn't know that his mother had already met up with Yi Qian. Hearing no sound from inside, he knocked on the door again and smiled. "You're still not up yet? Yi Qian, don't sleep anymore. Get up, get up." Yi Qian, who was drying his shirt in the bathroom, heard the knocking on the door. The second knock made Xia Jinyuan, who was sleeping soundly on the bed, frown slightly. On the fourth knock, he opened his eyes. Chapter 885. His face was covered by the clothes, and his breath was filled with Yi Qian's natural fragrance. Xia Jinyuan blinked and lifted the clothes covering his face. When he saw whose clothes it was, he couldn't help but chuckle. He had a habit of covering his face with clothes or towels when he slept, but he didn't know when he had covered his face with Little Fox's clothes. No wonder he slept so comfortably. "Yi Qian, are you up?" A young boy's voice came from outside. His voice had gone through puberty, but it still had the cleanness of a teenager and the deepness of a young man. From his voice, he felt that the boy outside was quite good-looking. Xia Jinyuan didn't want to move, and he didn't dare to either. He was afraid that Yi Qian would open the door and step out. This was a huge misunderstanding. "Yi Qian isn't up either?" a classmate asked Yang Heng as he passed by. Xia Jinyuan heard the boy who knocked on the door laugh and say, No, I asked her to have breakfast. You don't have to wait for us. Go down and eat first. The bathroom door opened, and Yi Qian walked out with a dry shirt in his hand. When he was hanging it up, he unconsciously leaned into the room to see if he had woken up the man in bed. Just then, he saw Xia Jinyuan lift the blanket and get out of bed. Yi Qian hurriedly hung up the shirt and said softly, "Did I wake you up?" He slept for less than 6 hours. If it was deep sleep, it was enough for a high-intensity Special Forces soldier. Xia Jinyuan didn't say anything. The moment he opened his eyes, he felt refreshed. His eyes were clear and there wasn't a trace of drowsiness in them. He didn't look like he had slept for a few hours, but more like he had exercised for a few hours. Now, his clear eyes were staring at Yi Qian. They were quiet and deep like an ancient well. As Yi Qian spoke, ripples appeared in the ancient well. Light floated in the depths of the well. Yi Qian was confused by his gaze. Dai Qing frowned. "What are you looking at? You're so strange. What are you looking at?" Xia Jinyuan was naturally looking at Yi Qian. At this moment, he only had eyes for Yi Qian. He knew that his little fox was not bad. No, it was not just not bad. It was just that when he first saw her, he felt that she was a stunning beauty. Her beauty was not just the frivolous beauty of a gorgeous appearance, but a simple beauty that had been accumulated over time. She had a connotation that could withstand the test of time, and even more so, she had the tenacity to withstand tempering. She, who was already so beautiful, suddenly changed out of her blue and white school uniform and wore a long dress with ethnic characteristics. She stood gracefully in front of him. The peony embroidered on the edge of the dress was originally exquisite, but now it only served to set off her beauty. It made her look like a girl who had walked out of a world of purple and brilliant red. She suddenly appeared with an enchanting charm, and in an instant, she had bewitched him for the rest of his life. The dazzling beauty remained in his eyes for a long time. He said, "I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you. When I look at you, I see that there is no one else in your eyes. When I look at you, I see your heart and engrave it in my heart." Xia Jinyuan's gaze slowly moved down from her face to her slender waist. The corners of his mouth lifted slightly. He said, "I see a little fox who has become a spirit. She's so beautiful that my heart is still racing." Xia Jinyuan. His straightforwardness made Yi Qian's white jade-like face turn pink. She glared at the man who had started teasing her the moment he woke up. Yi Qian turned around and prepared to take out the military uniform that he had just hung up. Chapter 886. Knock, knock, knock. The sound of knocking came again. Xia Jinyuan then remembered that there was a boy standing outside the door. He looked at Yi Qian, who was blushing because of his praise, and pointed at the door, then gently made a hand gesture, to tell her that there was a boy outside looking for her. Yi Qian's expression immediately became serious. She pursed her lips and said softly, "Why didn't you say so earlier? I wanted to tell you when I woke up, but I didn't see a little fox suddenly appear, so I forgot." Xia Jinyuan looked at Yi Qian, whose body had stiffened. Not only did the smile on his thin lips not fade, but it also deepened. Last night, she didn't want her classmates to see him, but now, what's going to come will come. "Little fox, how do you explain having a grown man in a bathrobe in your room early in the morning?" Yi Qian saw that he could still smile and gritted her teeth. Sure enough, she couldn't go on a date with Xia Jinyuan in a place where she knew many people, and she definitely couldn't leave him to sleep in her room. Now, she was flustered and felt guilty. In her 2 lifetimes, she had never been alone with a man in a hotel. In her 2 lifetimes, she had never had so many classmates come to look for her. Moreover, when they came, there was a man in a bathrobe in her room, revealing a large portion of his muscular chest. "Clothes, put on your clothes properly." Yi Qian pointed at his chest and glared at him with her dark eyes. You're no different from being naked right now. Fasten the belt of your bathrobe. Captain Xia's complexion was the same as hers. No matter how much the wind blew or the sun shone on him, he was still very fair. The light at the entrance was a spotlight, so she could clearly see the beautiful lines of his chest muscles. His sexy chest muscles were so tight that she could feel the shocking explosive power hidden in his body. I'm in the room and he's outside. What are you afraid of? Xia Jinyuan looked at her anxious expression, and his thin lips curved even more seductively. He chuckled and said, I'm clearly wearing a bathrobe. Why is it no different from being naked in your eyes? Little fox, do you have X-ray vision? Can you see under the bathrobe? Yi Qian took a deep breath and walked up to the man who was so muddle-headed that he wanted to punch him. His hands reached for his waist. She had to tie his robe for him. She could feel his hot breath above her head. She was sure that if she looked up now, she would only see her figure in those unfathomably dark eyes. Because, even if she didn't raise her head now, she could feel his deep gaze on her body, not a single trace of his gaze away. She pulled the loose belt of his bathrobe into her hands and fastened the Yi Qian tightly with her lips pursed. Then she pulled the lapel tightly to cover his chest. X-ray vision? Even without X-ray vision, I can still see it clearly. Xia Jinyuan lowered his head and looked at her slender hands tidying his robe. She was obviously nervous, but she still pretended to be calm. He teased, You can see clearly even without underwear? Before the smile on his handsome face disappeared, Yi Qian's head mercilessly bumped into his chin and almost bit off his tongue. As he gasped in pain, Yi Qian raised his hand and smiled innocently. Sorry, I didn't do it on purpose. If she didn't do it on purpose, then she did it on purpose. Xia Jinyuan rubbed his chin and said in a gentlemanly manner, I know. You were able to gently soothe my brows when I was sleeping. How could you bear to hurt me when you care so much about me? Chapter 887. Yi Qian didn't say anything. His face was red and his teeth were chattering. She had never been Xia Jinyuan's opponent when it came to these kinds of things. Why should she make things difficult for herself? She had to endure it for now. When she grew up, she wouldn't have to be so cautious anymore. Haha, Major Xia, just you wait. When do you plan to open the door? Don't let your senior wait too long. Major Xia Jinyuan's jaw hurt, but his heart was filled with sweetness. He stood in front of the door and pushed it open. She could see him standing in the middle of the hallway. In order to maintain a good image, he even raised his head and puffed out his chest. He was wearing a bathrobe to give off a sense of déjà vu while waiting for Yi Jian to open the door. He was waiting for her classmates to see him. Yi Jian didn't feel like talking to him anymore. She turned around and gently closed the wardrobe door. Then, she quietly went back to the bathroom. She scooped some water and wet her face. Then, she walked out with a towel to wipe her face. Good Lord, he was still standing straight in the middle of the hallway. He didn't seem to have any intention of moving. She pushed him all the way into the room and pushed him towards the corner of the wall. Stand still and don't move. Future boyfriend who can't see the light of day. Future boyfriend who can't see the light of day. That was a problem. He watched as she took 2 steps, then turned around to check if he was standing in the corner. Her cute behavior made Xia Jinyuan rub his aching chin and laugh until his chest trembled. She was really a pure little fox. She was like a piece of white paper. In the future, every stroke of her would be left behind by him, Xia Jinyuan. She was 17 years old and didn't understand much. When she grew up, she wouldn't have to hide her feelings anymore. It was almost time for the little fox to rebel. Then, before that, he had to work hard to fill in the color of a man named Xia Jinyuan in her pure white world. He had to make sure that only he existed in her world, and only she existed in his world. Xia Jinyuan only loved Yi Qian, Xia Jinyuan only wanted Yi Qian, and Xia Jinyuan only had Yi Qian in his world. It was that simple. Everything he did, said, and presented now was the real Xia Jinyuan. On the battlefield, Xia Jinyuan was a strict and cold man. In real life, Xia Jinyuan was a little rascal, a silly Xia Jinyuan who liked to tease his loved ones. Little Fox could see what kind of man Xia Jinyuan was in his military uniform, and what kind of man Xia Jinyuan was without it. This was the real Xia Jinyuan. He needed her to get used to the Xia Jinyuan who lived a different life from the one on the battlefield. He needed her to know that he never hid anything from her and that he always stood by her side. Yang Heng was about to leave when he heard the door unlatch. He turned around and saw Yi Qian standing at the door after washing her hair. Yang Heng smiled brightly and said, "Good morning. Have you had breakfast? When are you leaving?" "Good morning. I was just about to pack up and leave." Yi Qian, who pretended not to hear him while washing her face, looked at him calmly. There was a grown man in the room, so she had no choice but to open the door a little and use her body to block him. Yi Qian gradually accepted this version of Xia Jinyuan. Even when she was teased helplessly, Yi Qian never got angry. Sometimes she even felt guilty. Because the real Yi Qian was hiding a huge secret. Yang Heng didn't expect that there was a grown man in her room. Seeing that she was about to pack up and leave, he smiled and said, "That's fine. There's a bus at the hotel entrance that goes to the school. You can take it back." Chapter 888. Also, my mom said yesterday that she would like to invite you over for lunch today, but she has to go back on her word. My cousin is back in the country, so lunch will be a family gathering. If he didn't mention it, Yi Qian wouldn't have taken it to heart. He hurriedly said, it's okay. Your mom is too polite. I can't find you on Saturday and Sunday. You should thank Auntie. We know we can't find you on Saturday and Sunday. I'm going for breakfast. See you on Monday. See you on Monday. Yi Qian's calm expression did not arouse Yang Heng's suspicions. After he left, Yi Qian closed the door and leaned against it, letting out a long sigh. She was so nervous that her palms were sweaty. Xia Jinyuan looked at her nervous expression and couldn't suppress the smile on his handsome face. Don't worry. Even if your classmates come in, I will beat them to it. Before he could finish his sentence, there was another knock on the door. Xia Jinyuan's smile disappeared. He quickly walked towards Yi Qian and quickly went into the bathroom. The two seniors' voices came from outside. Junior Yi Qian, are you done packing? We just bumped into Yang Heng. He said you were going back to school, so we can go back together. Sure enough, one shouldn't feel guilty. The more guilty one is, the more afraid one is. Yi Qian opened the door for the second time and explained that he wasn't going back to school. Only then did he successfully send the two seniors away. It's not a safe place. We have to leave immediately. Xia Jinyuan came out and tried hard to hold back his laughter. He looked at Yi Qian seriously. Otherwise, I'm worried you'll be so nervous that you'll cry. His little face was as red as an apple. His expression was tense, as if he was afraid that something would happen. It was cute no matter how he looked at it. Yi Qian could tell that he was trying hard not to laugh. He glared at him, opened the wardrobe, and took out a blow-dried military uniform. What's not safe? I'm nervous because you're wearing a bathrobe. I'm still a student. If they see a man in a bathrobe in my room, I won't have the face to go back to school. Originally, there was nothing wrong, but once he saw it, regardless of whether there was a problem or not, it became a problem. Put on your clothes. I can even open the door now. Yi Qian took out his military uniform and shirt. When he looked up, he saw Xia Jinyuan staring at him with a deep and pitiful gaze. Yi Qian paused and took a step back. Why are you looking at me like that? Hurry up and get dressed. His voice was steady, but it was a little soft. At that moment, Xia Jinyuan made Yi Qian's heart tremble slightly. His handsome face, which had just woken up, revealed a bit of drowsiness and laziness. His deep black eyes were dark and gloomy. His whole person gave her the feeling of a cheetah stretching out its claws and staring at her, the prey. You change into your clothes. We'll leave after you change. Her breathing was a little tense. He could feel that she was a little nervous. Xia Jinyuan walked over and took the clean, fragrant military uniform. His gaze was locked on her face and did not move at all. After I fell asleep, you immediately went to the airport? Didn't you say that you didn't have any clothes? Then the only thing I could think of was to get your military uniform back. His expression was very calm. It was impossible to tell why his eyes had suddenly darkened. Yi Qian, who was trying to figure out what was going on, was also certain that he had not touched any sensitive nerve. Everything was very natural. Chapter 889. However, his gaze was still so deep that it was as if there was a whirlpool in his dark eyes that could suck her in. The military uniform was dry and dry. Her slender fingers tightened around the military uniform that she had brought back from half the provincial capital without his knowledge. There was a feeling of solidity in her heart, as if the whole world was filled with solidity. There was not a single empty space that was filled by her at this moment. It seems like I slept too deeply. I didn't even know when you left or when you came back. Xia Jinyuan said softly. His calm tone did not change. His deep gaze was still so deep that Yi Qian's heart couldn't help but tighten. He came over at 3:30 in the morning. Little Fox left at around 3:40 in the morning. It would only take an hour to get from the hotel to the airport. It was now 8:40 in the morning. A military uniform would take around an hour to dry, which meant that she rushed back to the hotel at around 6 o'clock. He had been back for so long, but he didn't hear any movements. It seemed that the scent she left on his clothes was even more effective than taking sleeping pills. He didn't know that Yi Qian had been delayed at the scene of the car accident for nearly 40 minutes. He even thought that Yi Qian had returned very early. He should have reminded her before going to bed last night to bring back the military uniform. Unfortunately, he couldn't wear it now. Her efforts had been wasted. You were too tired. That's why you didn't know. You look a lot better now. Hurry up and change. Why are you still standing there? Yi Qian said uneasily as his gaze on her became more and more intense. She didn't know if it was because he had just woken up, but he was standing in front of her with a casual laziness. Even a casual raise of his eyebrows was sexy. Her heart was beating a little faster. Could he not be so sexy? Could he not look at her like that? Could he hurry up and change? Xia Jinyuan looked at the girl who was working for him quietly. She was nervous because of him and blushed because of him. His world was not only filled with satisfaction, but it also made his heart throb. He took a step forward, and Yi Qian immediately retreated to the door. His dark eyes widened, and he looked at Xia Lei warily. At the same time, he maintained his calm and said seriously, "Captain Xia, this is a hotel. There will be students outside looking for me at any time. Don't do anything rash. Act recklessly?" What did she mean by messing around? But why was it that every time the little fox was alone with him, she would always have that, "What are you trying to do?" expression on her face? Simply put, she was trying to seduce him even when he clearly had no intentions of doing anything. "What do you think I will do?" He raised his eyebrows and asked with a smile. Yi Qian waited solemnly. "I don't know. You know." He took another step closer, and his lazy aura began to surround her. "You know, that's why you're telling me." He shook his head firmly and replied with an even firmer tone, "I don't know." Even if he knew, he couldn't say it out loud. The air began to thin, and his masculine aura was flamboyant and scorching. His eyes were getting darker and darker, making her feel as if her soul was being sucked into his dark eyes bit by bit. Looking away was a sign of weakness. In front of him, she had to get used to looking him in the eye. She couldn't show any weakness. Once she did, he would start to gain the upper hand again. Actually, I told you a long time ago. Captain Xia also reminded you that the more you reject me and resist me, the more I will cling to you. Look, you're resisting me right now. It's hard for me not to mess around with you or not to do anything to you. Chapter 890. He chuckled as he approached her step by step. It wasn't the kind of approach that would make Yi Qian want to run away, but the kind that would make her afraid of losing herself in his gentleness. Little by little, as light as silk, he approached her. Before she realized it, he would entangle her more and more, until she couldn't escape and was completely trapped in his gentle net. This feeling made Yi Qian panic. She didn't know what to do. She could trust him, trust that his deadly gentleness gave her a sense of security. We can't do anything right now. Don't forget, we have an agreement. We have to get to know each other first before we interact. This is our agreement, Captain Xia. I don't think you'll forget it. He was so close that her mind was a little confused. Her heart was messed up by his breath and his gentleness. Yi Qian secretly took a deep breath to calm her flustered heart. She looked up at the man whose entire body was wrapped around her. She saw her tiny figure in his eyes and also saw the faint smile in his eyes. She pursed her lips and said calmly, "Also, you're right. I shouldn't resist. This will make you want to conquer me." It seemed that his nearness made her panic. Very good, there was only panic and no fear. Xia Jinyuan's smile deepened. His handsome face looked as lazy as if he was drunk. His smile had the sexiest charm of a man. But I really like your resistance, because even though you're resisting me, you're also accepting me. There were still 2 years left in high school. She had enough time to accept his approach, because every time they met, he would make their relationship better. Just like now, she only felt panic and no fear. This was enough to show that their relationship had been improving. Yi Qian, whose thoughts were exposed, raised her hand and gently rubbed her tense forehead. She had indeed been accepting Xia Jinyuan despite her resistance. Did accepting him mean that she needed to confess her mystery to him? Did she need to find a chance to confess her past and completely open her heart to Xia Jinyuan, who made her feel safe? Could she reach out and grab his hand? Looking at Xia Jinyuan's gentle gaze, Yi Qian couldn't deny that he had the urge to do so. Then, the impulse only flickered in his heart like a spark. When the light disappeared, the impulse was gone. Grandpa Zhen and Uncle Chern had taught her that women also needed to stand tall and proud in front of the world. When one did not have enough capital, one had to learn to endure, to lie low, and to wait for an opportunity to soar into the sky. No, it was not yet time for her to reveal all her secrets. She still needed time to prove if he could really accept her. After all, she was still young and he was still young. I admit that I'm accepting Captain Xia, who's so far away, so tired, and still sneaking around in the middle of the night. If I were to heartlessly refuse, I'm afraid Major Xia would be heartbroken. Yi Qian smiled, relaxing his tense heart and body. Her admission filled Major Xia with even more joy. He reached out and easily pulled the nervous little fox into his arms. He smiled and sighed. Getting along with people is a process of acceptance. I said before that I would wait for the day when you would accept me. I will wait for that day to come. That little head of yours likes to think too much. You actually asked me what I wanted to do. Little fox, your question is full of hints to a man. You're hinting at what I can do. Chapter 891. Yi Qian bit his shoulder, but couldn't bear to bite his flesh, so he could only vent his anger by rubbing his bathrobe with his teeth. You always have so many excuses in front of me. You barged into my room in the middle of the night. Can't I ask you what you want? She couldn't even bear to bite him. Xia Jinyuan's thin lips curved even higher as he gently hugged Yi Qian, who was gradually relaxing in his arms. He chuckled softly and sighed. Of course you can ask. I like it when you ask me. You went to pick up my military uniform at 3 in the morning. Little fox, you're really good at taking care of people. What should I do, little fox? It's getting harder and harder for me to let go. Yi Qian's expression was extremely unnatural. Hugging and hugging. Ever since they kissed in the army, he had become more and more presumptuous. Xia Jinyuan, I think we should sit down and talk. How about this? She wasn't used to it and felt particularly embarrassed, but she didn't resist his embrace. She wasn't pretentious either. Anyway, it was. No. Good. Will. Think. Xia Jinyuan hugged her very comfortably. The girl in his arms was delicate and soft, and she even secretly did things for him. He couldn't tell from her expression that she was tired, but she was naturally considerate. That's right, she was considerate. Considerate that made him happy. If it's not like this, then what is it? He asked softly. His voice was as deep as the sea, and his breath blew by her ear. Yi Qian gritted his teeth and made a huge decision in his heart. This decision really shocked Xia Jinyuan. She actually hugged his neck and took the initiative to kiss him. She even kissed his lips. He was stunned for half a second, and naturally, he couldn't help but loosen his grip on her. A second ago, he was still in shock, but in the next second, he lost her in his arms along with the kiss. The person in his arms nimbly escaped from his arms and raised her eyebrows proudly. You've hugged me, and kissed me. Captain Xia, can you change your clothes now? I still want to go to the regiment to start training in the afternoon. The injury on my arm has been recuperating for half a month. If I don't train now, my skills will become rusty. If he were to find a man from the Special Forces as a boyfriend, he would need to prevent him from sneaking into the room in the middle of the night. If he were to find a woman from the Special Forces as a girlfriend, he would also need to prevent her from kissing him. However, she had already nimbly escaped from his embrace. When a male soldier faced a female soldier, or a Special Forces soldier faced a Special Forces soldier, this kind of love was a love that could run together and compete together. It was a love that was evenly matched. Xia Jinyuan smiled helplessly. I didn't even feel like it was a kiss and it was already over. His slender fingers gently caressed her warm lips as he raised his eyebrows and said meaningfully, Why don't we kiss for a while more? Let me feel it again. It wasn't easy for him to escape, so how could he possibly go back? Yi Qian rejected him with a smile and used his eyes to signal him to quickly go into the bathroom to change. You're not wearing your school uniform, but you're wearing such a beautiful dress. Then, Xia Jinyuan put the military uniform back into the wardrobe and said with a smile, I'm not wearing my military uniform today. I'll wear casual clothes. He glanced at the breakfast on the cabinet in the entryway and said, I'll wash up first. You can watch TV while eating breakfast. How about the International News Channel? Although you're in school now, since your current goal is to enter the military academy, you should also pay attention to international news. Chapter 892. He picked up the breakfast that Yi Qian had brought over and placed it on the coffee table. Under her slightly serious gaze, he said casually, The morning news is over. Let's watch the 9 o'clock news. Didn't I say that our operation this time was a decapitation operation? Can you see if you can find anything from the international news? Yi Qian's expression was serious. Xia Jinyuan, this is the second time you've mentioned your operation, and you haven't forgotten the top 10 confidentiality rules. Why do you have to mention it again and again in front of me? You can watch it first. Okay, this is the channel. For this operation, he had to let her understand it step by step. He wanted her to watch it first. What she saw was always more realistic than what others said. He wanted her to watch it more and analyze it based on what he said. He also wanted her to be able to immediately ask questions that were beneficial to her analysis. Looking at the news, with her intelligence, she might be able to figure out what the operation this time was related to and what it was for. Yi Qian and the others didn't have the opportunity to watch TV at school. In 1997, the provincial No. 1 middle school didn't have a TV in every classroom. The only TV was placed in the auditorium, and no one dared to sneak in to watch it. Yi Qian sat on the sofa with a heavy burden on his heart. He watched as Yi Qian turned on the TV and switched to the international news channel. I don't know if it's available. Take a look. I want to call Ho Zi. Okay. Yi Qian nodded and watched the international news carefully. From the corner of his eye, he saw Xia Jinyuan take his phone and go to the bathroom to make a call. Ho Zi was still on the 23rd floor. He had just come back from a swim and was only wearing a pair of tight black swimming trunks. At 37 years old, he maintained his body well. From his tight abdominal muscles, it was obvious that he paid a lot of attention to exercise. He picked up the phone and said, "Hello?" His expression gradually became serious. So this is the cooperation with this territory. Okay, I'll send the clothes to you in half an hour. I'll take you directly to pick the goods. Ho Zi loved Xia Jinyuan because he loved him. Moreover, the other party was worthy of his help. Today, if Xia Jinyuan had asked him to bring a gun to help, Ho Zi would have agreed without hesitation. Xia Jinyuan couldn't help but raise his eyebrows at such a straightforward answer. He said with a faint smile, "I killed someone overseas and fled back to the country. Brother Z, I'm in big trouble. What am I afraid of? Who do you think you are? Killing people was not done for personal reasons. Alright, stop trying to scare me. Other than your sister, there's no one else who can scare me." Ho Zi smiled, her beautiful phoenix eyes filled with killing intent. She smiled and said, "Thank you. What's there to thank?" He had two thanks. First, he was thankful that Xia Jinyuan thought of him at this time. Someone like Xia Jinyuan went overseas to kill people, and he killed people for the country. Since Xia Jinyuan could come to the southern province to find him after killing people, he had to help him. Helping Xia Jinyuan was equivalent to helping the country. Second, he was thankful that Xia Jinyuan gave him a good opportunity to start reshuffling the cards and wash away all the past. Xia Yiwei wanted to marry some *T designer. When did he agree? What was so great about studying abroad? Ho Zi did not study for many years, but he was still doing well. He was still going to marry Xia Yiwei. The place to pick the goods is a little far, but you won't regret it if you go. Ho Zi was not afraid that Xia Jinyuan would find out where he hid the goods. So what if he found out? He did not take these goods out to endanger the peace of the southern province. It was just a hobby. He liked to collect them. Chapter 893. Xia Jinyuan knew that Ho Zi had weapons. It was normal for a gangster like him to have weapons, but he didn't expect that Ho Zi could say the word pick. He could tell that Ho Zi had a lot of goods just from this word. That's right, he wasn't afraid of having a lot of goods, but he was afraid of not having any. Zigu, you know the consequences if I go to your collection place. Although he wasn't afraid of Ho Zi having a lot of goods, some things had to be made clear. Xia Jinyuan's expression became serious. You know who I am. If I go, I will take your goods, but it's very likely that. Ho Zi took the towel from the bodyguard and wiped his hair with one hand. He walked towards the cloakroom with his phone in the other. Since I dare to take you there, why would I be afraid of you seeing my goods? I've known you since you were 16 years old. I've never given you anything that can be used against me in all these years. Even your sister can't find anything that can be used against me. Besides, you said that I'm helping you, but I know that you're helping me. You're helping me to reshuffle the cards openly. Zigu, I'm not afraid of you finding out. In fact, I should be thanking you. Besides, since you're asking me for goods, you must know that I have the goods. Given our relationship, there's no need to talk too much nonsense. If you want the goods or the people, just say the word. He had to help Xia Jinyuan now. Helping him was also helping himself, Houzi said casually. His tone revealed the decisiveness of a decision-maker. With just a few words, he decided on such a big matter. A gangster bringing a soldier to his own armory to pick out goods. Wasn't he courting death? If it was in the past, he would be courting death. But not now. This was an opportunity for Houzi. There were countless people who wanted to cooperate with this territory, and this opportunity was now in Houzi's hands. He would be a fool if he didn't seize this opportunity. Xia Jinyuan laughed. Xia Yiwei, you've completely won. You've really won. Based on his understanding of Houzi, he would definitely give him the goods if he asked, but he would never bring him to pick out the goods himself. As Houzi said, even Xia Yiwei didn't have any direct evidence of the person sleeping next to her. Why would the cautious Houzi suddenly think of bringing him to pick out the weapons? There was only one answer. Houzi heard what he said last night and used his actions to tell him that he had decided to give up his country for the beauty. Zigu, you decide. I need the goods urgently. I have to get them this morning. Xia Jinyuan didn't give Houzi a chance to reconsider. He didn't have time to wait. I'll send the clothes to you in half an hour. I'll be waiting for you in the underground parking lot of Venus Hotel. Houzi, who was getting some clothes for himself, had a relaxed expression on his face. He had to seize the opportunity to cooperate with this territory. If Xia Yiwei had the intention of marrying someone else, why would he need worldly possessions? Last night, every time he compared his current status to that of a fickle woman like Xia Yiwei, he realized that no matter how he compared himself, as long as he thought of another man sleeping next to Xia Yiwei, he would burn with anger. He couldn't wait to buy a ring and run to her to propose. I still have to do it one by one. I have to do it slowly. Suppressing the anger in his heart, Houzi's handsome face, which was so beautiful that it was close to a demon's, was not filled with a charm that made people's eyes linger, but with a gloominess that made people tremble. Xia Yiwei wanted to marry another man? No way. Chapter 894. It was 8:50 a.m. Yi Qian was focused on the TV. She wasn't curious about what Xia Jinyuan and Houzi were talking on the phone in the bathroom. It was 8:50 a.m. and there were still 10 minutes before the 9 o'clock a.m. news. The news that could be shown on TV had to be edited and reviewed before it could be shown. She never thought that she would be able to find out what mission Xia Jinyuan and the others were carrying out from the news. After hanging up the phone, Xia Jinyuan came out of the bathroom and said to Yi Qian, "Someone will deliver the clothes in half an hour. Let's go out for a walk then." Go out for a walk in half an hour? Then she wouldn't be able to watch the entire episode in detail. She just hoped that she would be able to find some clues from the trailer. Must we go out for a walk? Can't we go to the training ground? Yi Qian raised her head and looked at the man who had decided on the itinerary for the day. She frowned slightly and said, "Captain Xia, why do I feel like you're hiding something from me?" Xia Jinyuan raised his eyebrows and said, "We really can't go to the training ground today. As for what it is, watch the TV first. I have breakfast, right? I'm suddenly a little hungry." He immediately changed the topic, which made Yi Qian even more suspicious. "There's breakfast. You can eat it and tell me why you must go out with me today." Xia Jinyuan smiled at her. His deep eyes were deep and mysterious. "Continue watching the TV. Eat your breakfast slowly. I'll be there soon to accompany you. Little Fox's curiosity was piqued. Hopefully, she wouldn't be so scared that she would cry. That didn't seem likely. How could a strong little fox cry? Less than 10 seconds later, Xia Jinyuan walked out with a cold expression. He was holding Yi Qian's blood-stained school uniform in his hand. What happened on the way there? He asked in a low voice. He even sounded a little anxious. Did you meet any suspicious people? Did you get rid of them directly? Ever since he entered the country, he had been on the lookout. It was impossible for a snake from outside the country to discover his whereabouts in such a short time. Could it be that he had been too careless? Had someone already made a move to kill the little fox? Yi Qian, who was watching TV intently, looked up and saw his handsome face tensed up as he held the bloodied school uniform she had left in the bathroom. She was a little surprised by his reaction and immediately explained, I was on my way to the airport when I bumped into a car accident. The blood on my uniform wasn't mine. It was the blood of the injured people in the car when I participated in the rescue. So that was the case. He was really frightened just now. She looked at the school uniform in her hand. Although the dried blood on it did not belong to Yi Qian, her heart sank. He didn't show any strange expression on his face and said with a smile, So that's how it is. It seems that this car accident is very serious. You participated in the rescue and were stained with so much blood. It's pretty bad. I wonder how the driver is doing now? Yi Qian furrowed his brows when he saw that Yi Qian's brows had loosened after his explanation. Even his expression had relaxed a lot. What exactly happened to their team during this operation? Why were they still so tense when they were back in China? Also, did he just say that he met any suspicious people? Did she get rid of them directly? How could she get rid of anyone directly? No, it wasn't that she could get rid of anyone directly. There was someone who needed to be dealt with directly. Someone followed Xia Jinyuan back to China. Otherwise, why would he burn the clothes he wore that day on his way back? Chapter 895. Yi Qian's pupils constricted. She walked over with an unprecedentedly serious expression. Are you in danger now? Are you in great danger? Someone followed you back to the country. Is that right? Answer me, Xia Jinyuan. Her voice was sharp and urgent, and it carried with it a chill that broke through the ice. Seeing her angry expression, Xia Jinyuan quickly comforted the little fox, whose hair was standing on end and whose expression was tense. Don't be too nervous. If this is someone else's car accident and you are just rescuing him, then I am safe in the southern province. I've been covering up my tracks. I won't even wear the clothes I've worn a second time. If someone really followed us, I think we'll find out together and get rid of these little tails together. He stroked her hair and maintained a faint smile. Our profession is special. There will be danger at any time, but in our own country, it's relatively safe. He had been dealing with these people to buy time for the J5 and the others to escape. Now that the military had received text messages saying that his comrades were safe, his plan had succeeded. He had successfully lured all the snakes to himself and allowed his comrades to return safely. He talked about dangerous topics as casually as if he was talking about the aftermath of a movie. Even his expression was indifferent, as if it was not worth mentioning. That smile made Yi Qian a little breathless. The car accident did not scare Yi Qian. It made her lose her cool. Yi Qian's heart sank even more. She looked at him with a determined gaze and said softly, If someone followed us, I will definitely share the danger with you. Her fearless gaze made Xia Jinyuan's eyes ripple. His little fox would not back down just because he was in danger. She would definitely choose to stay by his side and fight side by side with him. I believe in you. If I'm in danger now, you will definitely stand by my side. So, I'm back and I'm back with danger. Little fox, will you be angry? Yi Qian's brows furrowed more and more as he spoke. Angry? She was not in the mood to be angry. In that case, Xia Jinyuan's return to the country did not mean that the mission was over. Since the mission was not over, why did he come to the southern province? There's one more thing I need to tell you. There's a reason why I can't wear this military uniform. It's because I can't wear the military uniform that represents our country with my current identity. This bastard. Since he couldn't even wear his military uniform, he was 100% sure that he still had a mission to complete. Why didn't he make things clear when he sent her back to the hotel last night? Why did he have to wait until today? Why didn't he tell her in advance that he was coming back with danger? He was sleeping so soundly when she went to the airport. What if the danger came at that time? If she had known that he didn't need to wear his military uniform, she wouldn't have gone to the airport so early in the morning. She couldn't think that way. If she hadn't gone to the airport in the early hours of the morning, Auntie Song might have gotten into a car accident. His words made Yi Qian lose all interest in watching TV. His voice was tense as he asked, "Why? Why can't I wear it?" "Because I'm not a Chinese soldier now, but an illegal mercenary." His words made Yi Qian's breath catch in his throat, and his heart instantly tightened. What kind of special force was Xia Jinyuan in? What kind of special forces were they? They could actually change the identity of a Chinese soldier and turn him into a mercenary. Chapter 896. He had become an illegal mercenary without an identity and was not allowed to show his face in any country. Once he was exposed, the Chinese military would not be able to easily protect him. This was because they were no longer Chinese soldiers. Their names were not even in the entire military system. Erasing everything and sending them on a mission was enough to prove that once their identities were exposed, they could only rely on themselves to save themselves. Thinking of this, Yi Qian's heart trembled. "Then why did you return to the southern province?" "Xia Jinyuan, you must have a reason to return to the southern province, right? The southern province is Ziji's territory. Did you think that if something happened, he would not stand by and do nothing? Is that why you returned to the southern province? Is that so? Also, Captain Xia, since you dared to contact Ho Zi while you were still on a mission, you must have other motives. Am I right?" Compared to Yi Qian's tense expression, Xia Jinyuan's expression was much more relaxed. "Smart, you guessed it so quickly. You're right, little fox. I did have a reason to return to the southern province. You were talking about the decapitation operation. The decapitation operation is the biggest operation, and it involves matters between countries. For such a big matter, even if Zigu has power in the southern province, he might not be able to guarantee your safety." Yi Qian pursed his lips and looked at him even more carefully. He said with certainty, "Captain Xia, the reason why you had to return to the southern province is definitely not that simple." Xia Jinyuan chuckled softly. His elegant and handsome face looked indifferent, but his voice was cold. "My identity is now an illegal mercenary." He emphasized the word illegal and looked sharply at Yi Qian. "Yi Qian, tell me, why did I have to return to the southern province? What's the reason why I had to return?" The southern province was Ho Zi's territory. Ho Zi would not stand by and do nothing when a snake from abroad attacked him. The reason why he had to return to the southern province was because Ho Zi had a weapon. Yi Qian's brain never stopped working. He kept analyzing the reason why Xia Jinyuan had no choice but to return to the southern province. He also thought about how Xia Jinyuan had suddenly told him about Operation Decapitation. He didn't say anything that wasn't supposed to be said in the confidentiality agreement, but what he said seemed to be on purpose. No one could help them. They could only help themselves now. No, she could help him too. If it was as she guessed, Xia Jinyuan deliberately wanted her to know about their operation. It was also the military's intention. Otherwise, as a soldier, how could he tell him about their operations so easily? He only dared to say it after getting the approval of the military. The military knew that he had returned to the southern province, that he had contacted Ho Zi, and that he had contacted her. The military knew everything, but Xia Jinyuan was still an illegal mercenary. An illegal mercenary didn't hide the fact that the military had contacted Ho Zi, the leader of the underworld. This meant that the military allowed him to contact Ho Zi. It was obviously a clueless matter. The more Yi Qian thought about it, the more confused he became. Gradually, he found a reason why Xia Jinyuan had no choice but to return to the southern province. It was because Ho Zi had something that the military couldn't give to Xia Jinyuan for the time being. What was that thing? Yi Qian's eyes gradually darkened. Like the sea, they were so deep that the bottom couldn't be seen. After about a minute, the bottomless sea began to ripple. She should have guessed the reason why Xia Jinyuan had to come to the southern province. Chapter 897. Weapons. Ho Zi was the boss of the underworld, so he must have guns and ammunition on hand. Xia Jinyuan, an illegal mercenary, needed guns and ammunition. How could he not have a weapon to defend himself before the mission was over? You returned to Nan province because you trust Ho Zi and are sure that he will help you. You need to get weapons from Ho Zi, she said in a trembling voice. She was trembling so much that even her fingers were trembling. Why would he need weapons when he returned to China? What kind of people did he offend? One thing was for sure, the people he offended back in China also had weapons in their hands. The smile on Xia Jinyuan's face deepened, and so did his eyes. He had guided Yi Qian to understand the dangers of his mission. When he heard her analyze the purpose of his return, he felt a sense of pride. This was his little fox, a brave and strong girl who would never give up easily in the face of difficulties and setbacks. That's right. Also, I'm an illegal mercenary now, so I can't return to the army to get weapons. If I want guns and ammunition, I can only get them from Ho Zi. Returning to Nan province is my best choice. Our mission after returning to China is to lure the snake out of its hole. I'm responsible for leaving clues along the way to lure these foreign snakes to Nan province and give my comrades a chance to escape safely. So, Yi Qian, I came to your side with great danger. Are you afraid? That was what he asked her. It was only 3 words, and his voice was soft, but every word was heavy. Every word was like a mountain pressing down on her. Yi Qian wasn't afraid. She wasn't afraid of danger at all. She wasn't worried that he would bring danger with him. When Yi Qian spoke again, she realized that her voice was as tense as a string that was about to snap. Then what are you going to do now? What about your identity? That's right, she wasn't afraid of danger. She was afraid that he wouldn't be able to restore his identity. Her words made Xia Jinyuan tear up. The girl he liked was not afraid of the danger he brought to her, but she was afraid that his identity would not be restored. Major Xia, whose heart was aching, resisted the urge to pull her into his arms. He took a deep breath and calmly said, "Although my current identity is an illegal mercenary, my identity will naturally be restored after this is over." When Yi Qian heard this, it was as if he saw the mountain that had been pressing down on his heart explode with a bang. His entire body relaxed. It turned out that his identity could be restored after the mission was completed. That was good, that was good. However, before she could exhale, Xia Jinyuan's next words made her heart turn cold. Actually, that's not the problem. The problem is the injured K7. He contacted G3 last night, but he didn't even send out the coordinate. Therefore, I suspect that he didn't manage to escape, but was bitten instead. Little Fox, this is the biggest problem right now. G3 is K7's contact person, and I am G3's contact person. For this mission, we contacted each other one by one. When K7 crawled out from the gunfire, his random mercenary uniform was blown into strip. When he saw your uniform and thought about K7's injury, he stopped. He didn't want to personally voice out his suspicions that his comrade was injured and captured. He kept looking at Yi Qian with a heavy gaze. Yi Qian, whose emotions were stirred up by Xia Jinyuan, narrowed his eyes and stared at him. He didn't ask anything else. Instead, he asked for himself, "Captain Xia, if you tell me about your mission and the difficulties you're facing, it means that not only can I ask you some questions about your mission, but I can also directly participate in your mission, right?" Chapter 898. Didn't you already guess correctly? What else do you need to confirm? I can only contact you and tell you what our mission is if the military agrees to your participation. Xia Jinyuan laughed and even raised his hand to rub her head. What else do you want to confirm? Yi Qian waved away the hand that was rubbing his head. I want to confirm whether my current identity is a student or an illegal mercenary. Keep your hands to yourself and don't touch me. I still have a lot of things to know. Of course you're a student. Also, what do you want to know? Xia Jinyuan laughed out loud. His laughter was low and deep, and even his chest was trembling slightly. Can you think about what we should do next? After all, my current identity is not a soldier, but an illegal mercenary. You're a little fox who is so smart that it gives me headaches sometimes. Do you have any ideas on how to restore my identity as soon as possible? He could take her to actual combat, but in actual combat she had to be able to control the entire situation on her own. She was such a smart girl. She couldn't just be a soldier who followed orders. She had to become a commander who could command soldiers. He hoped that she could become a commander who could command soldiers in battle. Now, she would talk and he would listen. If there was anything wrong, he would point it out to her. He would let her grow up step by step with him. He would watch her grow up and see her become successful. Just thinking about it made him feel proud. You can ask me anything you think of. I can also tell you that after we lure the snakes out of their cave, the mission will be completed in Nan province. We can't do it in the city center. We have to end it in a remote place. He revealed the danger again and let Yi Qian face the danger directly. Yi Qian's gaze gradually darkened. His voice was very soft and filled with a murderous aura. Since we've lured the snakes here, we can't give them a chance to bite you. We can't let them have a chance to escape. If they could get rid of these people in advance, it would mean that Xia Jinyuan's mission in China was completed. It would also make it impossible for other countries to find out that he was actually a Chinese soldier. This was the only way the military could restore his identity. After the finishing work is done, there won't be anything else, Yi Qian said softly. His dark eyes stared at the elegant face in front of him. He said slowly, word by word, "Your identity can be restored." Her breathing went from rapid to steady, and even her eyes calmed down. Xia Jinyuan couldn't help but lift his hand to hold her face gently. He stroked her face gently with his fingers and said, "No, little fox, it's not over. It is good that you are not soft-hearted to your enemies. However, there is still our comrade K7. You still need to consider his current situation. I came to the southern province to divert everyone's attention and ensure the safety of my comrades. But as long as one of my comrades is still alive, my mission will not end, and my identity will not be restored. For this operation, the identities of all the comrades participating in this operation will be changed. As long as one of them is still alive, no one will be able to restore their identities. Xia Jinyuan explained everything to Yi Qian. When he was done, he gently touched Yi Qian's trembling lips with his lip. Little fox, you still need to learn how to control the entire battle. You need to control it from all aspects. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.